This week on NWP, we do so many calibrations that we give Garrus a plus 20% to hardening.
Come in and put your weary feet up. Come in and gently close the door. Our time will leave you intrigued and wanting more. Remove your clothes, listen to those headphones. Take off your pants, relax.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerds Without Pants, episode 187. We cover everything while bearing it all. I am Julian, almost forgetting how to do the intro to this show, but nailing it at the end. And I'm joined, as always, by Justin.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm a person. Welcome to the Nerds Without Pants podcast, episode 188, according to my notes, but I may be crazy.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. No, it is 188.
All right, because I remember in my head last episode going as 187 because of Dr. Dre albums. But anyways, welcome to Nerds Without Pants. This is a podcast where we rate kitchen utensils on a scale of 1 to 10. Today's kitchen utensil, the colander. Julian, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank the colander?
It's like a 2, because I don't even have one in my kitchen.
How do you drain noodles?
I mean, I've got a thing. It's not really like a colander, though. It's more... like it's not a traditional colander. It does the job, but it's not.
Right.
It's not actually a colander.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
I'll accept this.
Yeah.
I would rate it at least a 6. Lots of things you can do. You can, I believe you can. I believe Alton Brown uses it for many things. I don't know how to cook. Okay, moving on.
I can understand the use of a colander. I really should have one, but I also Alton Brown. I can't with that dude. He just annoys me.
Okay, listen. I don't know what he's done, but he had a show called Good Eats where he cooked on a extreme budget, and it was really neat, and I liked it a lot. And it was more sciencey than it was cooking show. And
everybody loves him. I am the only person who probably finds him hella annoying, and I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
It's one of those things. Just every once in a while you get a visceral reaction from certain people, and whenever I see him, it's oh no. Dislike.
I'm sure there's many people like you that don't like him, but I find him to be the Bill Nye the Science Guy of cooking foods.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, I saw that he had posted something on social media this week, and he looked like he had aged about 20 years, and I was like, that's about right. That's right where we're all at right now this year. That tracks.
Yeah, exactly. He's a man of the people, really, when you stop and think about it.
Yes. All right. Well, we got a jam-packed show tonight, but before we get into that, Justin, I have been remiss because we've actually had a new review waiting to be read for quite some time. Well, this actually came to us on September 24th of the year 2020. And this comes to us from Nifty Dragon, and the title says, "Listening for a While," and the review reads as thusly. It says, "I really enjoy this podcast for its chemistry and content. The topics are great, and I like the down-to-earth commentary that Julian gives about the personal things he goes through as well. Justin is a great co-host, and I like his funny wit that he brings to the podcast. Angelo is also great, and I always look forward to when he's on the podcast. I was sad when he left, but I'm glad he still guests on the podcast from time to time. Love his music picks. Also, I miss Patrick's interesting takes on all things video games and otherwise. I've listened to all the episodes and have seen this podcast grow into something great. Keep up the good work." Thank you.
So what I heard from that review is all of Justin's music picks are all shit. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I also heard that the show grew into something great, but we only do good work. We don't actually do great work. So
no, we're just good. That's fine. I'm fine with just good.
I'm fine with just good as well.
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's a great review. Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
It touched my spirit.
Yes, and I also just a little bit of like I've noticed that we've picked up some new listeners lately, and they've been kind of interacting with us on Twitter. And one listener in particular has been going back to listen to like from the beginning, which has been I actually re-listened to like one episode because I was like, oh, he's right around here. I don't even know what that even sounds like anymore. So I re-listened. I was like, all right, this show is the content is really good, but it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Because again, like it took a long time for the show to really sound great, but
yeah.
I really appreciate that. It's really awesome to have new listeners, and if you just got here, welcome, and don't be shy. Like we definitely didn't get a lot of input on this particular episode, but jump on in there. We are happy to hear from all of you.
Indeed.
With that being said, I think the only thing left to do is to take off our pants, relax, and jump on into the stage select. And this stage select was my pick, and for many reasons, I wanted us to put our heads together and create a new Mass Effect game. Well, actually, I can say it here because by the time this episode is out, I believe you can hear both Justin and I on Games My Mom Found, where we were covering Mass Effect 1.
Yes.
So obviously, like...
I was going to say, and if not, it'll be out after that.
Right after.
Right
yeah,
after.
like very soon.
So yeah, exactly. We're promoting. It's what we're doing.
yes. Like it'll like if you came from Games My Mom Found, hopefully you enjoy this. If you're listening to this, definitely go check out the Games My Mom Found episode, because I have a feeling it's gonna get a little spicy.
It might.
And so yeah, obviously, like having just played through Mass Effect 1 recently, and also a bit of Mass Effect 2, like it's been on my mind, but also just like, we're really close to N7 Day, and that seems to be the rumor when they're going to finally announce this trilogy remaster for the current gen consoles. And so I'm curious, what they're actually going to do to those, and if there's another set of achievements, because I just finally got every single achievement for Mass Effect 1 after 13 years of trying. So there's a lot of reasons that this has been in my head, and so what we did is we broke it into sections. So Justin, you have story and characters.
Yes.
And then I have like presentation, which is going to be like, graphic style, but also like I think I've got some UI stuff in there. And then I have mechanics, which is going to be, all the nuts and bolts of the game.
Okay.
So I think you should probably lead things off, Justin, because I think all the setting kind of will inform more, like I can definitely tailor my stuff to what you tell me for like the story and the characters.
All right. I'm going to be doing a lot of reading, and I apologize in advance because I say this a lot where I've said I've written the most notes I've ever written for the show. I've written the most notes I've ever written for a show on this. And I remember when you pitched this, I was like, well, if you do story, you kind of have to do characters because to me, that's the whole thing. Like, Mass Effect is as strong as its characters and all that stuff. The base story is always fine, but okay, we'll get into it. So I'll pitch my main story first. I don't know timelines that well, but I want this to be set before Mass Effect 1. But after the First Contact War, I stayed away from a lot of wars and stuff like that. Not because I don't find them interesting or anything like that. The thing about it is a Mass Effect game to me is all these this melting pot kind of coming together and doing a thing, Yes. And if you have a war, you're kind of split. I couldn't figure out a way to do it. I thought about it and immediately was like, I can't do it that way.
Yeah, because if you try to go prequel wise, where if you want to do the Krogan Rebellion, it's well, that's everybody versus the Krogan.
Yeah.
And if you do the Rachni, it's well, then it's just everybody fighting a bunch of Rachni for an entire game, beginning to end. That's not fun.
That's sort of the beauty of where Mass Effect is set. Everything is calmed down. I mean, obviously, there's things coming to destroy everyone, but you don't know that when it starts. Exactly, and all these races have their differences, and you're all you're trying to get everybody together. You're assembling the team, I guess. And I kind of like that, but I didn't want to do a Save the Galaxy story at all.
No, yeah, I Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's been done. We can only save the galaxy so many times. We can, like it just can't be done anymore. So I said it before then, and there's a couple other like little timeline things. Like when I was thinking about story, I was like, okay, well, what kind of game do I want it to be? And I immediately, like, seriously, after you pitched this, I went downstairs, had a cigarette, and was thinking about it. And I was like, I want Mass Effect Firefly. That's what I want.
Ooh. All right.
I pitched a little bit of it. I'll pitch this to you. So I thought of how to begin the game. And at first I was like, oh, I want you to be able to start on all these other planets and be like, kind of like Dragon Age Inquisition. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, I can't make this tie into my actual narrative. I can't get to it for everyone. I'm sure there would be a way to do it, and it'd be really cool. We'll talk about it later because I know somebody else pitched that exact thing, and I was like, yeah. No, I that was my idea too, but I couldn't get it to work. So I actually directly ripped off the Elder Scrolls.
Shocker.
I basically, so you remember in Mass Effect 2 when you break out Jack from a place called Purgatory,
yes.
which is a like Blue Sun's prison ship or whatever, and it's like a max security thing or whatever. But basically, it's just this like slavery extortion thing that they just like they go to other planets and like park there and threaten to let all the inmates out on their planet unless they give them fuel and all this shit. It's just this ultimate hustle. But basically, like, the story for people that haven't played Mass Effect 2 in a while or never played it is basically you get there and they're like, oh, you're Shepard, you'd be worth a ton of money, so we're going to try to capture you. And that doesn't go well for him. Spoilers. So I wanted to that's where you start. And basically I wanted you to be able to pick whatever, species you wanted to be. Like, I think I have written most of the humanoid ones. I have human, Turian, Asari, Krogan, Quarian, Solarian.
That sounds. I mean, you could pick Drell. I know a lot of people love the Drell from Mass Effect 2, but those are like the core, because that's like,
to me, that's
all of the council races plus like the kind of enforcer races that are, under them.
Also interesting is like when you meet Thane, the Drell, everybody comments on how rare it is to see a Drell outside
That's
of their,
true.
So that was kind of one thing that I do have a Drell in this game. We'll get there when I get to characters. But I kind of left that out for that reason. But you could always add it. That's up on the table. But and I also want female versions of all of them, except maybe Asari are all female because that's just kind of what they are. They're genderless or whatever. But
right.
Like, you never meet a female Krogan. I'll change that. Don't worry. You never meet like female versions of these. They exist. They talk about them all the time, and you never see them.
You do see a couple female Solarians, but it's not really noticeable because they're wearing like. And I think part of this is that like when they were doing the original like designs, I don't think they really went too deep on like what these characters look like without their armor or clothing on. So yeah, and then like when you finally get to Mass Effect Andromeda, you do get a female Turian, which I think is the first time you ever see a female Turian, but the designs in that game aren't very good, so she doesn't look all that good. And then you do meet a female Krogan in Mass Effect 3, but she's completely covered from head to toe, and so you really haven't seen a female Krogan.
You see a dead female Krogan in Mass Effect 2 at one point. They're on like a table or whatever, and you're like, oh, it's a whole thing. But anyway, so this is where I read directly from the notes. I say you can choose a background for your character, which will vary by species. This will mainly give you stat boosts in certain areas and give different dialogues throughout the game. It also lets you determine how your character winded up in Purgatory. I want the game to start on Purgatory, where like basically like you're in there and you're one of the cellmates and you meet two of your characters right off the rip, and it just basically introduces you to like good guy, bad guy choices. One thing I've always had a thing with in Mass Effect, and it's not a huge problem. You're trying to save the galaxy, so you're always a good guy. Even when you're doing kind of shitty things, you're always a good guy. You know what I mean? I want to give you the opportunity to be a real piece of shit in this game. Like,
yeah, I think that there's definitely room in the Mass Effect universe to address that. It's just that obviously with Shepard being the cream of the crop of Alliance military, like you couldn't really go that far evil, right? Because like you know, we've said on the show before, like a lot of people say that like the renegade path is like the evil path, but if you're really paying attention, it's really more of like the dick path. Like, you're still doing the right thing at the end of the day. You're just doing it in usually like a really like I don't give a fuck type of way, but you're still saving the day.
Yeah, you're just playing bad cop is basically. Yeah. You're just doing different, you know, you're being kind of a dick. Exactly. That's exactly. Yeah. You're just kind of being a dick. And really it's you're doing the right thing, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, like my idea is to like have you basically meet two characters and one of them's being like a complete piece of shit and they're beating the shit out of the other one and they're extorting them for, I think I'll explain this in characters because that's where the majority of my notes are, buddy. But like you're meeting them and like one of them's, you know, beating the shit out of the other one and you can basically just like take the side of the person that's beating the shit out of the other one, or you can be like, hey, don't do that, that's bad, I'm a good guy. You can totally take the good guy path and, you know, be like a Nathan Fillion or whatever. But after that, the main story starts shortly after this, where you are bought by a very wealthy investor for reasons you don't know yet. Also, should be noted, I didn't name any of the characters. I don't know names, and
that's fine.
I was like, I'm not gonna name them because I'm bad at naming them, and it'll just sound stupid. So I just was like, this is who they are and what they are, and we'll get in. Yeah. So yeah, the other two characters that you just met are also bought, but you don't know that yet. You are whisked away to a space station / casino where you meet the game's antagonist, a Solarian crime boss / information broker who runs the space station and deals in various shady activities throughout the galaxy. He tells you basically he drew your name out of a lottery of various other candidates, so you're not special at all. You've been chosen to become one of his new operatives, sent to collect his debts and just make him money in any way you or he deem necessary. If your usefulness to him is deemed no longer necessary, you will be disposed of. You're then introduced to your ship called, I did name the ship, it's a temporary name, but I named it the Renegade because I think that's funny.
Little in-joke there, yeah.
Yeah, a little in-joke, exactly. And you meet some of your crew on the ship, which I'll get to all of that. But the one member that is important, for the main story is he sends a Krogan with you, who is basically like your overseer. He's there to make sure you don't fuck around, to make sure you're making money, to make sure you're, you know, not gonna fuck this guy over, not plotting against him or whatever. He is there to, and nobody wants to fuck with him. He's a badass motherfucker, you know?
The foreman.
Exactly. And he's also part of your, like, crew. Like, he'll help you on, he's kind of a Rex type. I'll get to that later, but, let's see. Yeah, and he's also the character that acts, it gives you quests and other various activities that you can do. The rest of your crew is then assembled through quests. Most of them either work directly for the antagonist in some capacity, or they owe a large debt to the antagonist, and becoming part of your crew is how the antagonist hopes to collect. The game is very open as to how you proceed. You can become a smuggler or just ship goods from place to place. You can just be a nice guy and just be like, hey, gotta get those medical supplies to grandma. That's what I gotta do. You can become a pirate and rob ships roaming the galaxy. You can become a bounty hunter. You know, I was like, I want to have the option to be Cowboy Bebop. I just want to have that option to be fucking nice. You just need to make credits for the antagonist and also have enough left over to help run your ship and buy yourself new gear. Eventually, you will run into an Asari Spectre, who is after the antagonist. They will begin to target you in order to get to them. Eventually, you will have to make a choice. Mainly, if you are a good guy who wants the antagonist brought to justice, or fuck all of that, I'm taking for what he has for myself. So basically, the antagonist is the bad guy. You're either going to fuck him over and take all his shit, or you're going to help bring him down. Right. So that's you know, that, and you can kind of play it a ton of different ways. I only mapped out a few of them, I guess. But not long after meeting them, members of your crew will start to betray you. You will have to choose if you want to hide their secrets to help bring down the antagonist, or if you basically want to throw them out the airlock for their bullshit. Every decision here will matter, and choosing mercy, depending on your character and their motives, could come back to haunt you later. Eventually, the game will progress to where basically you have about half of your crew left, and the final confrontation with the antagonist will occur. You're either out to bring them down with the help of the Spectre, or you're out to take their share and kill the Spectre in the process. Or various other outcomes. Maybe you really like the crime boss and you want to be his number one guy. You can go that route. Maybe you can bring down the crime boss and also talk the Spectre into looking past your future shady bullshit. Stuff like that. So that's kind of the story as I have it laid out. So you're kind of just put into this, bad situation that you can take the good guy route. Like, I'm not going to do anything bad, but I'm stuck doing this thing. So I'm going to do this thing and kind of have fun being a space shipper or whatever. Or you can just like, hey man, fucking killing all these people on these ships and taking all their shit makes a lot of money. That's what I'm doing. Like, you can go that route, So I wanted it to be like really RPG-ish and space outlaw. Like, I loved that sort of thing. So that was my idea. Like, my favorite parts. So I played through Mass Effect 2, like not right before this podcast, but like, about a week ago. And my favorite parts were when you were on like Omega and dealing with like Arya T'Loak and all that stuff, and like
Terminus system stuff.
I loved it. I was like all this like shady shit. And I was like, man, I want to go into that stuff. I want to be in that world and be doing all that stuff. So that was basically the gist of. So that's my main story. I don't know what you think of it. Is it all right?
No, I think that's great, and I really love the fact, and we're on the same page here, where you're not the special, because like so many games, you end up being like the one, right?
Yeah.
Like, and even Mass Effect 1, or the Mass Effect series, like, it was fine in Mass Effect 1 that you were going to be the first human Spectre, but then they had to like triple down on it, where it was like, not only are you the first human Spectre, but you're the only one who can save the entire universe.
You're space Jesus.
Yeah, you were chosen by the Protheans because of the beacon in the first game, and now you're the only one who can do this shit. And it's like, why couldn't I have just been like a really capable soldier that happens to be at the right place at the right time?
Right.
So I love that. I love the fact that like you get to see, because like I've said before, Mass Effect is such a huge, well-realized universe. It's nice to be able to explore the non-military part of it. Right. Like you're like, because if you're setting it where I think you're setting it, like Saren is running around, Captain Anderson is running around, because they would actually be in their prime.
That was my like main thing in the timeline was like, I remembered the story from Mass Effect 1 where Captain Anderson was like, I went on a mission with Saren, and he was doing some real bullshit back then. And I was like, oh yeah, it'd be kind of cool to like kind of hear about that, or something, and you'd be like, oh, that thing I know. Not
even necessarily run into him, but just like hear like on the news feeds, like, all the Spectre Saren did blah blah blah, and it's like, oh.
I have like a few side quest examples. Actually, they're more events. I just had like things that just happen to you. Like you get raided by Batarian pirates, you get shaken down by crooked space police when you dock at a port. You get raided by the Asari Spectre. That's a big thing. Your crew mutinies and all this shit. You can stop the crew mutiny early by intimidating some of your members into working for you, but eventually, like, you can make, like, a really vicious example out of one guy. Like, just like, this is what happens when you cross me, and everybody will be really afraid of you. Like, eventually them probably will turn on you or something like that. But, like, I really want you to have to make a choice as to who the fuck is on your side and who you're going with, because, like, that's thing.
That's real classic BioWare, too.
Yeah.
Because you used to be able to really piss off party members.
Oh, yeah, I know, and I really miss that. Like, I really want you to, like, if you're a piece of shit, they will notice. Like, I want everybody disliked that type of shit,
So I didn't finish Jade Empire, but I'm pretty sure that one of my characters ended up leaving my party because I wasn't bad enough. Like, he really disapproved of, like, my goody two-shoes choices. And I don't remember if I fought him or if he was just like, I'm not down for this, I'm out. But it was definitely something along those lines, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. And then one side quest I came up, I don't even know if I have it written on here, but I was like, wouldn't it be cool if like you were just on that like random space station where Rex is like fighting that Asari commando or whatever because like I loved that story from Rex where he's just like, yeah, we just had it out on this ship, like we just tore that ship apart trying to kill each other, and like I was just taking random people's guns and shoot emptying no matter. I was like, that'd be so awesome if you had to like get out of that situation, like you're like, this shit's bad, we gotta go, guys. Like, that'd be super fun. So do you want me to go into characters now? I can get into that, or do you
definitely, because I think characters will definitely inform. I had a couple like comments about story, but I think I'll wait for character because then it'll probably it might answer my questions actually.
Okay, absolutely, and I don't have it fully fleshed out. I did my best, but I can try to work around whatever questions you may have. So my characters here. This is my main crew here. So I have an Asari matriarch.
Nice.
And I based her around. So in Mass Effect 2, there was this character that I met. You meet. You remember? I forget his name now. The guy, he's on the Citadel in Mass Effect 1, and he's trying to be you. He's just trying to...
Conrad Werner.
Conrad Werner, yeah.
Yeah.
You meet him in Mass Effect 2, and he's at this place called Ilium, and just in this bar, and he's like, I'm Shepard, I'm doing their stuff. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing, man? And basically, you go up to the bartender, and she's an Asari matriarch, and she has just had it. She is
I do remember her.
Oh, yeah. She is the best. I instantly was like,
she like, I'm a matriarch, but I'm still fucking tending bar. Like,
yes. She's like, no one will listen to me. So this is where I'm at. And she's just like pissed off and over it. And I was like, I love this character. I need so much more of you. Why aren't you in anything? So I based this character really off of them.
And real quick, for any listeners who aren't like big Mass Effect freaks, like the thing with the Asari is that they have like different stages of their lifetimes, and the matriarchs are them in like the later years of their life, but they're supposed to be like super like venerated and respected, and they're usually like at the top of society. But in that situation in Mass Effect 2, she's still just doing what a Asari matron would be doing.
Yes.
Which, because that's usually around the time when they're like, a lot of them go into stripping, or a lot of them do like sex work of some sort, or they just like kind of gallivant around the galaxy, going into like having madcap adventures and stuff. Like they're very like freewheeling in that stage, but she's kind of stuck there, even though she should be like much higher in society.
Yeah, she was great. I loved her so much. I even have that written down. Being a matriarch is supposed to be an honor in Asari culture. She's lived a long life, but also has made many mistakes. She's full of good advice, but isn't your typical proper Asari, and hates the idea of being one. She has 3 daughters, two she's lost contact with, and her youngest, who's a dancer in a club on the Citadel. She isn't afraid to get her hands dirty, but when push comes to shove, she tends to do the right thing. And I kind of like have all these characters balanced for gameplay, but I kind of made her the biotic, for your good guy thing. I have 12 characters. I'm not going to lie to you.
I think that's definitely the biggest number of the series, but if your story is geared towards you're going to lose some.
Yes, towards getting rid of half of your crew at some point. Yeah. Like there's very clearly a good guy crew, which is these first guys are the good guy crew. And then you meet the bad guy crew or whatever, and depending on which way you go.
Do you have it set up to where it's possible to end up with a mixture at the end?
I think you could do that. I think I would like,
if you're playing it a little bit down the middle.
Yeah, I would. I've almost thought of like, maybe there could be a route where like, if you tried to make everyone it'd be funny if you tried to make everyone happy and they all turn on you at the end. And like, you just suck. Like everything you did sucks. Like this
you
guy
just said
told
what I wanted
me
to hear.
Yeah, this guy told me what you said. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's horrible.
That would actually be really cool, Justin. With like, because now, because the technology wouldn't have been there back for like Mass Effect 1 through 3, but think about like what they can do with AI now. If the characters actually do talk to each other and it's based on your actions, sort of like what they do with like, think about like, I'm still kind of upset that no one has taken the Shadow of Mordor stuff and like applied that to a different application. Cause think about like they remember what you said and then they're like, hey, did you see what the captain said about the thing? Do you think Rex is going to do that? Like, that's not what I heard. Like, that would be some really cool shit.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yes.
And then going back to my point about like having like a little bit of mixture in your crew. Cause if you're going with the Firefly analogy, like think about how like Jane is not necessarily a good dude.
Right.
But he is on the crew and sometimes you need a guy that's like morally ambiguous to get some stuff done, even if you are being a goody two shoes. Like sometimes you need to have that person that you can be like, well, he's the one that did it. Like I didn't actually murder that person in cold blood.
I actually have a few characters when we get to the like the other half of the crew. I actually have a few characters where I could probably fit that in.
Cool.
So I'll go to the next one that on the good guy side. He's a pretty good guy. Now this is one of the guys that you meet at the beginning of the game. I have Coward Human Male. He's a fucking coward. This character is afraid of everything. They ended up on your ship due to the debt their family had with the antagonist. Since his family committed suicide, he was left holding the bag. He's skilled enough in tech stuff and knows how to shoot a gun due to a brief... Oh, whoops. I brought up my keyboard like an asshole. Why did I do that? That was weird. Due to a brief stint in the, where are we? Oh shit. Oh no. Oh god, it's all falling apart. He knows how to shoot a gun due to a brief stint in the Alliance. There we go. From which he got himself dishonorably discharged for going AWOL. He spent a brief time in military prison for this, but nothing major. During this time is when his family killed themselves. He hates fighting, but is also terrified to die. He just wants everything to be over with. You can slowly build up his confidence over the course of the game or make him feel worse than he already does. If you go too far, you can put him in a state where he's basically unable to function. Then it's up to you as to how to get rid of him. You can pay off his debt, throw him out the airlock, or just leave him around. Leaving him around may cause another crew member to kill him, claiming he's a useless extra mouth to feed. He's the biotics and electronics. He's like the Caden Alenko of your crew, I guess.
Okay, the adept.
Yeah, but way more interesting than Caden ever was, I think.
No, that's not hard to do, but yeah, definitely. I like the idea of him being, because you know how in Fire Emblem there's always that one like really shitty villager that you pick up, but if you spend all of the time on him, like he will become one of the most badass people in your military.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. Like, I wanted you to be like, no, dude, you're awesome. Like, you're doing so well. And he's like, maybe I am doing so well. Thank you. I'll try really hard.
And then if you really get him like completely like confident in his abilities, he just rips the antagonist in half with a singularity at the end. You don't even have to fire a shot.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, I have female Turian bare knuckle fighter.
Ooh.
This character refused to take a dive in a rigged fight that the antagonist was hosting. She's been on the run for many years, but through a series of quests, you track her down. She's tired of running and seems relieved that she's dealing with you and not directly with the antagonist. She basically sees you as a way out. She has a ton of stories about fighting the pits and training with the Turian Blackwatch, which is basically the Turian Special Forces. Very sarcastic and charming, very easygoing, but also tough as nails in a fight. She's the soldier and biotic of the crew, I think.
Okay. So does she actually mainly fight like hand to hand, or does she use guns as well? Because if you have an actual melee based character, it fits in really well with what I want to do gameplay wise.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Yes, we're doing that. Because I wasn't sure. I just kind of like was like they're this because I was just going classic Mass Effect stereotypes. But yeah, if you have a melee thing, that'd be great.
That's
awesome.
Because, you know, if that character like that, like her abilities would be built around survivability. So she'd have like amazing shield, like regeneration abilities and like an armor upgrade thing. And then probably just like some sort of like dash move that lets her get in, you know, close the space, sort of like a fighting game and type of, you know, because like that's the thing with like, you know, the problem with like Zangief in early Street Fighter 2 is that he didn't have a way to get close to your opponent. But then as the games went on, like he would get certain abilities that let him really close that gap to get in there and do the damage. Yeah,
that would be pretty sweet, man. I'm liking that. I didn't even realize that would fit so well into what you were doing. So that's awesome. I kind of loosely based that one on a conversation you have with Garrus in Mass Effect 2, as he talks about fighting a female Turian.
Just to let off steam, right?
Just to let off steam, and then they go back and do some
let
stuff.
off some other steam.
It let off some more steam. Yeah, and I was like, that'd be so cool to meet a character like that. That's like hand to hand. That'd be awesome. And I was like, why don't we have that? Like, I want to see that, and you never get to see it. But now you do. Next up, I have a male Quarian engineer. This character borrowed some money from the antagonist to help pay for some repairs to his ship that he belonged to on the flotilla. He had hoped that the members of his crew could help him with the payments, but they instead exiled him after they found out who he had borrowed money from. Surprisingly, he harbors no ill will towards them and has had time to realize that his actions weren't the best way to handle things. He describes it as being young and dumb. He has a plethora of stories about adventures he had during his pilgrimage, where he spent most of his time working on ships for a Solarian transport company. This time he was gifted a large sum of fuel by his employer, and that's what he brought back to the flotilla. He also speaks longingly about one of his love interests that he met on the ship he joined after the pilgrimage, and that not telling her how he felt was one of his only regrets that he had in life. He also has the opposite opinion on the war between the Gethen that many Quarians do, and wishes they would, quote, let it go. He's an electronics guy.
It's been 300 years. Just drop it, guys.
He's just like, this is our culture now. Like, this is who we are. Like, just let it. It's fine. This is what we've become. Like, just let it go. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I do get it. When you hear Tally talk about it, you're like, oh, I get it. But like, I would love the opposite point of view. It's just like, this is what we are now. Like, why keep going with this? So that's that character. I don't hate him.
I like that a lot.
Okay, good. I'm
really digging these archetypes.
All right, awesome. Next up, I have the Solarian inmate. That's how I've labeled him. He's this character is one of the first characters you meet in the game. When you meet them, they are being extorted by extorted by a human female inside of Purgatory. If you choose to help them, they will be very kind to you in the beginning of the game. If you take the other side, they will pretty much hate you to the point where they will almost refuse to talk to you. They ended up on Purgatory by being transferred there by the colony they were living on. They ended up incarcerated because they murdered another Solarian on their colony. It was actually just self-defense. The other Solarian was stalking their love interest and attacked the couple on the way to the home one night. The stalker turned out to be quite wealthy, and so the sentence for the Solarian was much harsher than what it should have been. He's overly apologetic. Yeah, I don't know. He's overly apologetic and a bit of a pushover. If he doesn't like you most of the game, he will give you short one-word answers for most of your conversations until he finally gets fed up and tells you to fuck off. You can win him back by proving you're not that bad, but he is one of the main conspirators against you depending on what end of the spectrum your player character leans. He can be your worst enemy on your crew or your best friend. He also has a lot of fun stories about growing up poor in a rough part of his particular colony, and he's a soldier and an electronics guy. That guy is interesting, I guess. I think that's the end. No, it's not. This is my last good guy here. Then I have a female Krogan warlord. You always hear about how badass the Krogan women actually are, but you never get to see it for yourself, which is total bullshit. This Krogan turned to life as a mercenary because she hated the typical role of the Krogan female. The Genophasers destroyed almost any chance they had to rebuild their species, and she views their attempts at trying to breed as futile. She left Tuchanka before any breeding contract could be made with her clan. She's ruthless to her enemies and loyal to her allies, and life as a mercenary has taught her more than staying on the homeworld ever could have. She rebels any chance to fight against a male Krogan because she loves the challenge. In fact, she loves any challenge, and that's why she agrees to join you in the first place. She views your entire situation as a challenge and wants to see how things play out. If you prove to be absolutely ruthless and cruel, she'll begin to view killing you as a challenge for her to overcome and will side against you.
Is there a potential there for her to have like a really antagonistic relationship with the Krogan foreman? Because I could see that situation being where either he feels like he shouldn't like say anything to her because she's a female, but then at the same time, like she's not doing what Krogan females quote unquote should be doing.
That has been in the back of my head. I just don't think I got around to writing it. This was a lot of writing.
I could see that really boiling over, like almost like those Mass Effect 2 standoffs between two characters. Where you really got to like handle shit, otherwise something goes bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be awesome. Now we get into the bad guy crew, and this is a race that I don't think you've ever had on your crew, and I always kind of wanted to know more about them. Actually, there's two like that. So I have former Batarian pirate.
Nice.
This member of your crew used to be a Batarian pirate who raided human colonies and sold people into slavery. He regrets none of it. The only reason he got out of that life was because his crew was eventually caught by Alliance forces. He respects cruelty and ruthlessness. He generally hates humans, as most Batarians seem to do, because they all seem to hate you. But if you are human...
because like when humanity, like, you know, after the first contact, like they go straight for, like, you know, the places in space where the Batarians were settling, which is really, we'll get to it on the Game episode. Humans are dicks.
They really are, man. Yeah, they really are. But if you are a human and you're a ruthless bastard, he starts to change his tune a little bit. He also has a general interest in the female human crewmate because he's never seen any human as frightening as her. And electronics and biotics for that guy. Let's see. Now we get into the human female inmate. When first encountering this crew member on Purgatory, she's beating the hell out of your Solarian crewmate because she demands he give her homemade hooch that she has heard he makes. She's portrayed as ultra-violent and savage. Later, when you meet her on the ship, she's instead very reserved and polite to a nearly creepy degree. She's a master manipulator and will do anything to get what she wants. She views sapient beings as pawns and has no regard for life at all. She doesn't think any of her actions are questionable in the slightest. She will open up to you if you prove to be as ruthless as she is. She'll tell you all about the lives she's ruined and people she's killed and will be loyal to you in this case. Otherwise, she will greet you with a smile and attempt to use you for the thing she wants. No matter how nice she may seem, she is not on your side.
A true sociopath.
Yes. I wanted a really true sociopath. That was exactly what I was going for. Just creepy to talk to and scary, like, where you're just like, I don't have a good feeling whenever I talk to them. It's bad. I don't like them. Like, I really wanted that character.
And then the cowardly human, like, he doesn't see it. So he thinks she's like the bee's knees. Like, he's like, oh no, she's really nice when you get to know her. It's like, no, guy.
No, dude.
Let me tell you what's going on here.
No, dude, listen, you need to know. Okay, this next one, I really, really like this idea. I think it's awesome. So I have the Hanar and the Drell. That's all I have them titled as. And how I have this going is, I'll just read it. I love the relationship between the Hanar and the Drell overall, and wanted an interesting thing for them. So my idea here is the actual crewmate is the Hanar. But since Hanar aren't fighters, because I don't think they fight. I don't think there's any. Yeah. But since Hanar aren't fighters, the member who fights in their place is a Drell assassin. Or bodyguard, I guess. The assassin doesn't speak much, giving very simple answers only when they are spoken to. They are a weapon and don't know anything else. Sometimes they will have memories like Thane did, but only when asked to recall something by the Hanar keeper. The Hanar is a wealthy merchant who is a close friend of the antagonist. He's aboard your ship to buy and sell goods on the port you visit, but agrees to loan you his assassin when he fights. You can learn more about Hanar culture and this was my joke. You can learn more about Hanar culture and what this one thinks of each planet you visit as you go. They'll often share a story of an incident in perfect photographic detail on each major planet you visit. So my idea is basically every time you go and talk, you're talking to the Hanar, because the guy who actually fights for you is just like sitting in a dark corner in the room, just like blank.
He's the muscle. Like he's literally the hired muscle. Yeah,
exactly. And he's just like, okay, yeah, you can. I'll send him with you to go do this thing. But like,
what would be really cool is if the Hanar treats the Drell really badly, and if there's a way where you can actually motivate the Drell to like basically like kill his master and then join your crew, and then he starts talking.
Yeah, you got to put some serious points in the speech to do it, but it'd be awesome if you could do it. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I kind of had that idea in the back of my head too. It was like, man, it'd be really cool if you could talk this guy into there. But like,
I like the idea of like a Hanar like shit talking to somebody. It's like, this one does not approve of what that one is doing. Like, that one should have done a better job of, on the last mission.
I fucking love the Hanar, man. I was like, man, I want a Hanar crewmate, but I was like, but they don't fight. I have to find a way to get them in there, and that was my best solution for it. I'm
hoping that we're on the same wavelength, because if not, I'm going to request a crew member, but I almost have a feeling that you have this in mind. So I'll
go ahead. No, I might not. So what do you have? Pitch one. Pitch me.
Okay. I'm going to get back to gameplay, but one of the things that I would love for the game mechanics is to put a big emphasis on buffing and debuffing, and actually have like a support character. Okay. And the reason I came up with this is that there's a character in Jade Empire. He doesn't fight. All he does is give you booze, and he teaches you the drunken style, and he has like a couple of support abilities. So he takes up a slot, but the abilities that you get with him in your party like make up for him not being able to fight. And I love that idea, right? Yeah. And also, the Volus are my favorite race in Mass Effect. And I love the idea of having a Volus on your party, but he doesn't fight because he can't. But he's in kind of like this little, almost like a MODOK style, like rocket chair, so that he can move around as fast as your crew.
Oh,
but he's straight up support. So he boosts your shields, boosts your armor, he heals you, and that would work really well with your melee, Turian.
I got your guy. I know who, and it's not in my main crew, but when we get to him, I'll be like, okay, this is our guy.
Okay.
We'll get to there, because I do have a Volus. I love the Volus too. They're great. But I was like, I don't have any examples of them fighting, so I wasn't sure what to do. And that's a great idea of what to do with them. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Next I have the male Krogan Overseer. The Krogan, the antagonist, appoints to keep an eye on you. He works directly with the antagonist and works as a ship enforcer. He doesn't trust you at all and only tells you things on a need-to-know basis. You can gradually gain his trust, being a good earner and proving you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. Most on the ship know better than to fuck with him, and he often dares you to try and take over the ship for yourself. If you gain his trust, he'll be a key part in taking over the antagonist's business for yourself, because y'all go through some shit and he trusts you. If you're on the other side of things, you and your crew that's loyal to you will have to go through him first to take the ship for yourselves. And I imagine if you put enough points into your talks, you could get him on your side. Like, you go to fight him and you just like, nah, man, but listen. Listen.
We'll be talking about putting some points into some talks.
Yeah. I'm all, and that's what I wanted this game to be. Like, I wanted you to be able to talk your way out of so much shit in this. Like, that was so, and then I think this is my last one. Yes, this is my last playable guy. And I really find this idea interesting. So I have a Vorcha Stowaway. So after a shipping mission to the Vorcha homeworld of Heshtok, which does not go well because the Vorcha are fucking nuts, a stowaway will infiltrate your ship. You can, if you want, instantly throw him out the airlock, but your Krogan Overseer will attempt to talk you into molding him into part of your crew. You can attempt to talk to him as a good-natured character if you want to, but he will quickly become annoyed with you and your weak bullshit. Instead, the optimal way to talk to him is to fight him. Not sure how this would work exactly. Maybe you just pick shit to do in the fight, like a dialogue option, but since you have like that is what I had written here, but since you have like a melee thing, that would work. You just fucking fist fight him. Through kicking his ass, he begins to respect you as a warrior and will slowly become even stronger through your fights. You can fight him as a good-natured character as well, but eventually he will see your goody two-shoes bullshit and side against you. That I like that character because the Vorcha, like, they're not talkative. They have very short lives, and really the way that the Blood Clan, that's the main thing that they fight for, gets them on their side is they beat the shit out of them. Right. So I was like, that would be a cool thing to do. Like, you just walk into this room and you're like, we're gonna fight, motherfucker. And you just have this fist fight with this dude, and he's like, all right, I respect you, and I've learned a lot from this fight. And he just like comes back stronger every time.
I could see it almost being like the Fight Club quest line from The Witcher 3.
Right.
So, like, you just like, every once in a while, it's like, you can actually challenge him to a fight. And then if you win, then, he respects you a little bit more, and he also gets a little stronger. Yeah.
Exactly. So after that, I have the non-playable crew, and here's our guy. So I have a Volus ship pilot. Basically, it says this: he's flying this ship is just a job to him, Earth or whatever planet your species is from, clan. Just keep him paid and keep him fed. Don't tell him how to do his job, and you'll get along just fine. He loves to complain about every planet you visit and really everything in general. He's negative as shit, hates everything, loves to complain, just lives for it.
Excellent.
That's my. I was like, man, that even works because, like, you were like, yeah, he just rolls around in a little chair. I'm like, oh yeah, that's perfect for that guy. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
After that, I have Elcor engineer and is a Solarian assistant.
Oh, yes.
While a Solarian does all the actual work on the engine of your ship, he gets told what to do by an Elcor who knows just about everything there is to know about the ships in the galaxy. He often even schools your Quarian associate in ship knowledge in the most emotionless way possible. Then I have the last guy. Well, I like this character. I don't know why I like this character, but I like him. He's a Solarian navigator. He's the antagonist's cousin. It's his first job, fresh out of school. He's never been off planet, and he can't wait to put all the time he spent looking at maps of the galaxy to use. He loves giving you a rundown of the natural resources a planet has, despite that meaning nothing in this game, because that is stupid, and I hate that part of all those games. And just other dumb but fun lore facts about space travel. He's a total nerd, but despite being the cousin of the antagonist, he's pretty cool. You can also be a total dick to him all game, in which case he'll begin to slowly hate his job and regret the choices he's made in life.
Oh, that one got real all of a sudden.
I love it. Yeah, I know. I was just like, when I was writing that one, I was like, I like this guy a lot, man.
Hell yeah.
So those are my characters. I hope you enjoyed this long-winded talk about all my bullshit, but that was awesome. Like, I think we're really on the same wavelength as far as what we would want from like story and character. I also like the fact that it's a very non-human centric crew. Yes, that was my main thing. I was like, no, I don't want. This is not a human game. This is not a humanity's the best type game. That's Mass Effect. That's the other series.
Especially because if we're taking this like maybe 10, 15-ish years after First Contact War,
right?
Definitely at that point, really. Even by the time Mass Effect 1 starts, like, humanity's being treated way too nicely considering, like, how shitty they've been so far. So I like the idea of getting to see how the rest of the galaxy views humanity through their lens instead of just being told it to you as a human. Right. Cause there's definitely this thing of like, why don't you like us? Like, we're so great. And it's like, bitch, you don't understand, like how, like, dangerous you are to the galaxy and, you know, how you're asking for all of this shit, like, right off the jump when you haven't done anything.
Dude, I remember, one of the first things you meet in, Mass Effect 1 on the Citadel is a Volus, he's the
Volus in the Elcor?
Yeah. Yes, the Volus ambassador. And you walk up to him and he's just like, what the fuck do you want? And he's like, you people get everything handed to you.
Respectfully, Din, your people get lots of things too.
He's like, we've been here so long. Listen to me. We've been here so long and we don't have a seat on the council, but you're going to get a Spectre. Oh, that's bullshit. And he's like so pissed off. And I was like, I empathize with him. I understand where he's coming from. That is kind of bullshit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that dovetails really well into the plans that I had. I guess I'll do mechanic stuff first because I think that piggybacks off of what you've done the most so far. So I think we're both in agreement that we want this to go back to being like a straight up role playing game like the first Mass Effect was. So Justin, I have so many things that you can put points into. I have so many things that you can put points into.
Because playing Mass Effect 2, there's not enough things to put points into.
So obviously speechcraft is like a big thing, right? Like, but I would actually make it even more nuanced than just charm or intimidate. I think it would be really cool if based on your, aptitude in certain areas, it allows you to be able to comment on certain things. So if your character is a biotic and you get high enough in biotics, then you're able to discuss certain things better, or maybe like in a conversation thing, like you would get like the biotic choice, right? Because,
right.
And then same thing with like, if you're like big in electronics, you can talk, sort of like what they did in the Outer Worlds. But
I was just going to say that sounds very Baldur's Gate. That's what Baldur's Gate does. Like if you're a mage, like you can comment on certain magics that are affecting this thing or whatever. You can take the mage choice, or you can take like a cleric choice with a character. Because I'm a cleric, I know how to cure these things. And they're like, oh, good for you, you dumbass. But that would be cool.
Definitely. Yeah. And, and I love the fact that you have the idea of having like an actual like origin story and background that like would change certain things in the game. That's something that I really miss from the first game.
I do too.
And so then again, like one of the big things for me is making buffs and debuffs important. And so having like a nice handful of abilities that allow you to do that, and not necessarily for your character, but also your party members. So again, like I see the Volus as having like just a full bar of shit that's really helpful to your whole party. Like maybe his little chair, like can like set off like an EMP or something, or like a stun move that if he gets like overwhelmed, but otherwise he's kind of defenseless. So things like that. And I want the stats to matter, or not the stats, but like the status ailments to matter and also make sense. Cause like I've played Mass Effect 1 all the way through 8 times now, Justin. I don't know what the fuck hardening is. I don't know what plus 20% physics threshold does. Like there's certain things that they do not explain to you why it's good or bad.
No, they never do. They just put it in the stat description, and you're like, yeah, you know what that means, right? I remember, yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I never knew what any of that meant.
Yeah. So, I want that stuff to actually matter, and actually break it down. Like, okay, this is what this does. This is why it's good. And now, like, general mechanics, I mean, this should come as a surprise to no one who's listened to the show for a long time. I would basically take the best of Mass Effect 1 and combine it with the shooting of Mass Effect 2. Because I do think that the actual act of shooting a gun in Mass Effect 2 is superior to Mass Effect 1.
I do too.
That's where the superiority stopped for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. And please, God, get rid of ammo. That is the dumbest.
It breaks the lore. And, I don't like being forced to be a cover-based shooter. I like the fact that in the first game, yeah, you can take cover, but really it's more beneficial to be like really moving around, using your abilities. And especially with a character like the melee character we talked about, it would make sense to have that character be built around, we're just going to rush down these enemies. So we're going to we're going to make sure that like we're completely topped off on shields and armor, and we're just going to charge in and just like wreck some shit. And you should be able to play that way if you want to.
Right. Do you want to hear the weirdest comparison thing for Mass Effect 1 that I had while I was playing that game?
Yeah.
I kept thinking when I was playing, I was like, you know what this kind of reminds me of a little bit with the overheating? Control. Kind of reminded me of that a little bit. I was like, man, that's a weird thing that I had in the back of my head, but like even like some of the powers and stuff, I was like, oh, that'd be neat. That'd be kind of neat.
I wouldn't be surprised if Control took some stuff from Mass Effect, because I do appreciate shooters where they're like, yeah, you know what? It's not really based around like how much ammo you pick up. It's more about, because the cool thing about Mass Effect is like, I don't like people complain about the overheating. I can make it through a game of Mass Effect with never overheating my gun. The only time that it ever happens is somebody uses sabotage on me. And that's not because I overshot. It's because that's what it does.
That's kind of cool when it happens too. It's cool that you can do that to other people too.
Yeah.
And I also love that like you can upgrade the gun to where it will never overheat, or like I remember I put like these high explosive rounds in my gun and all of a sudden I only got like 3 shots, but like it destroyed the room when I did those 3 shots. Yeah. So like a lot of customization in the weapons and armor, I demand it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I was actually getting into there. But
okay.
So overall, bringing back the ability to pause and issue commands, I would get rid of that universal cooldown, because I think that was the death of the strategy of the Mass Effect series. Because you should be able to fire off 3 abilities total from everybody, let those go, and then pause it again, and then do another set of abilities. Like that, right. It opens up the game in a way that is just very, very satisfying to me.
Yeah.
One thing that I would take from Mass Effect Andromeda is the overall movement and mobility. I really liked having that jetpack, and you're much more agile in Andromeda. And so that, and again, when you remove the bullet thing, the ammo thing, and then you're no longer having to hunker down behind cover, because it's again a much more active aggressive type game, which I think, you know, again, with the characters that we're talking about, it makes sense. And I think...
Imagine bounty hunting with a fucking jetpack. You live your Boba Fett dream in Mass Effect. Awesome.
Take that, Star Wars bounty hunter for PlayStation.
You gotta buy that jetpack though, and that shit ain't cheap.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
You gotta work your way up to that shit. And once you get, you're like, oh yeah, this shit's great.
Exactly. Yeah. And so again, you know, plethora of abilities to choose from, specializations, all that good stuff. So that's the overall. But then when we're getting into the nitty gritty, so I would straight up steal the inventory system from Diablo 3 on console. Okay. Because, you know, the problem with Mass Effect 1 is that, you know, the inventory system sucks, but the solution was not to just remove the inventory system completely. The solution was to fix the inventory system. 2
learned all the wrong lessons from 1.
It really did.
It really did.
And so, you know, especially considering that you already have like a radial menu for doing your powers and selecting your weapons in battle, it makes sense to have this really nice radial menu like in the pause screen, you know, to equip all of your items for your party. And that way, you know, you could see really easily like, you know, what's better, what's worse. And then if you want, you can actually get even more granular. It's like, okay, what exactly does this do for my character? Because I would really want to be a game where you can base things around a certain build, right? Like maybe you have this one ability that's like, this is the cornerstone of my gameplay style. So I'm going to build everything around this, right? So like all of my equipment, all of my abilities are going to be spec'd around this one thing. And then everything else kind of supports it.
You're appealing to my Hades playing recently. This is, I'm liking this. Okay.
Yeah. So we got a better inventory system there. Obviously, like we're going to have like armor that actually makes sense and is different, you know, like it's not just a cosmetic thing, like it's going to be really cool ass armor that affects your stats. So one thing that I really love, and you probably haven't experienced this, Justin, but when you play Mass Effect on like the hardest difficulty levels, you better be switching out those ammo types. Like if you're fighting the Geth and you don't have like synthetic busting ammo, you're going to have a bad time. The only problem is again, inventory system. So I would actually have it. So if you pull up your weapon wheel with, you know, with the left bumper, like if you select your gun, you can just very quickly select, okay, like, because it would just be broken down into types, right? So it'd be like, I want the synthetic ammo, or I want the organic ammo, or I want the cryo ammo, right? Like it would just be a very quick thing. It wouldn't necessarily be like, well, but do you want cryo ammo 4 or 7? You know, none of that shit. It would just be like, you would just upgrade it over time to where it would get more powerful.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what I've got for mechanics. Do you have anything to add, like that you would like to see that I didn't cover?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, we went. Let's see. We covered melee stuff.
I didn't have this until you said your story stuff.
Oh,
ship to ship combat.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah,
I don't know how we'll do it, but we should do it. I
was thinking it would be sort of like a turn-based thing, like Skies of Arcadia. Because the actual, like, if you read about how ship combat happens in the lore of Mass Effect, it wouldn't be this super exciting, like, oh, I'm going to maneuver and, like, juke around this stuff. It's like, no, the battles are actually happening from, like, really far away. And so it's all about, like, targeting and kind of, you know, more of, like, a Star Trek type battle. So
that's why I've always thought of Mass Effect as more Star Trek than anything.
Yeah.
So, that does make sense. Yeah, that would be cool. And definitely don't make it a turret sequence. For the love of God, don't make it a turret sequence.
No, definitely not.
No. I promise Vanessa from Square Roots I will not make it a turret sequence. But no, did we cover, have we gotten to combat, or is that the next? No, we cover melee stuff. We're going to do melee stuff. I don't think I have anything else. That sounds pretty good. Yeah, just more RPG stuff. Yeah. I figured you would be on the same page as me, and I kind of like, I was like thinking that the entire time. I was like, I know Julian will want to make this more RPG than it is cover shooter, which is the way it should be and the way they should go back to.
Definitely.
So yeah, we're on the same page on that. I don't have much to add, put it like that. But ship to ship combat is cool.
And that's not to say that you can't do non-RPG stuff with Mass Effect. Like, because again, I think that it is a rich vein. Like, I would love to see a stealth action game. I would love to see a first-person shooter. I would love to see an RTS game. Like, you could do almost anything with the Mass Effect franchise, and I would be into it. But for your, I think with what you're talking about, this is exactly what I would want to see, is more of just like hardcore Mass Effect 1 RPG, just better. Just overall better across the board.
Yeah, just lots of options and ways things can play out, because, like, you know, Mass Effect is going to end like Mass Effect. Like, you know what I mean? But I want my ending to be like, I don't know what the hell's going to happen at the end of this. Like, you know, I played it this way, but anything could happen. You know, I fucked this guy over. Maybe it'll come back to haunt me. You know, shit like that. I love that, those types of games. So
and definitely now that I'm thinking about it, like, it definitely gives it more of like a Witcher 3 vibe, where it's like you also don't necessarily know what this decision is going to bring about. You think you might be doing the right thing, but actually you just got that guy hung. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
So that would be really cool. And yeah, so moving on to like the presentation, which is, you know, graphics and everything. So I've been thinking long and hard about this.
Okay.
And we're right on the cusp of the next generation. And obviously I love my graphics. I am a graphics snob. You know, that's the reason why I upgraded my Xbox One twice, because I wanted the better graphics, right? Having said that, I don't necessarily need every single game to be trying to be photorealistic and showing me like the dirt under my character's fingernails and the pores on their skin, right? Certain games, yes. Like something like The Last of Us Part 2 would not be nearly as impactful if it didn't look so detailed, right? If I'm playing a Yakuza game, I want to see every motherfucking pore on those mob bosses' faces, right? Like there's certain games where that realism really comes into play. If you really, and I love Mass Effect, but if you take a Mass Effect character, a human character, and take off like the Mass Effect armor, you really can't tell them apart from any other similar type of video game, right? Mass Effect, and actually BioWare in general, they don't really have a style. You know, like it's kind of just good graphics. Like that's their style. But they, you know, that was the thing that I really loved about Dragon Age 2, is that it established a look for their races, which the Dragon Age Origins didn't have. Like, Origins is a very generic-ass looking fantasy game. And then Dragon Age 2, it's like, oh, like their elves have this very ethereal look to them now. Like, it really fits in. Like, it looks like, now I know what Dragon Age looks like, right? And then they kind of got away from that with Inquisition, kind of to its detriment. Like, again, they were kind of just like, we're just going to make the characters look really detailed and good, but not necessarily distinct. And that's all to say, like, and also kind of along this line of thinking, one of the games that wasn't on my radar at the beginning of the year that is now one of my most anticipated games of the year is Immortals Phoenix Rising. Yeah. Which it's clearly targeting like next gen graphics, right? It looks bloody gorgeous, but it's also a very stylized quasi cartoony look, but not so cartoony that it like takes away from anything. And I'm not saying that I would want my game or this game to look that cartoony. What I'm saying is that I would like the game to have a very distinct style. So not necessarily going for like photorealistic looking human characters or anything like that. Like really being like more stylized, more colorful, really making it pop, right? And I think having like a almost entirely alien cast really allows you to run with that, because you're, you know, like, what does a realistic Krogan look like, right? Like, Krogans don't exist, so you can kind of go wild with that. And I don't really have like a target for it. I just know that I want it to be a thing, sort of like what we said when we were making Final Fantasy last year, is I want you to be able to see a screenshot of our Mass Effect game and say, that's Mass Effect. You know, and not confuse it with Assassin's Creed or Prince of Persia or, you know, what have you. If you go ultra realistic, it gets confused with every other game, right? Can I pitch you something? Definitely. So, if you go into the options of Mass Effect or Mass Effect 2, or I don't know if it's in 3, there's a thing called film grain. And you can turn it on and off. And when and
it looks really bad in Mass Effect 1, especially like on a newer TV. It was made for, an older style TV.
It's a lot of noise if you turn it on HD.
It looks dated now, but like back then I remember it kind of being interesting. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why is that there? And I started thinking about it. I was like, oh yeah, they were kind of going for like this 80s sci-fi type thing. Mm-hmm. Like, and like, you could almost lean into that. Like, this is a movie presentation type deal. Like, this is very like, I don't mean go full 80s with it, but almost kind of like, very lean into that film grain in that movie aspect of it. And like really like kind of like, you don't want to make it like too cheap looking, but like kind of have that, this is definitely like Star Trek The Next Generation type shit.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say, because like, I have a big problem with new Star Trek. Like I haven't watched it, but just everything I've seen of like Star Trek Discovery, I don't like the look of it. Fucking love the Orville because it's going for that like kind of very TV show look. Like the lighting is very flat because that's how Star Trek used to be. So if that's what you're talking about, then I'm all for it. Yeah.
That's basically it. Like lean into that. Like this is an older style, sci-fi look that we're going for, and like kind of
you could even lean into like the way that they block like the cutscenes and stuff like that, or like the conversations between characters. Like you could kind of have them stand in that kind of Star Trek-y way, like that would be, definitely.
Yeah, it'd be neat. And like, I don't have many ideas other than that, but like, that film grain thing, just because it's in Mass Effect 2 as well. Like, it's not as noticeable. It kind of blends in a little bit better, but the option is still there.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's clearly a choice. Like, they put that in the game for a reason. Like, that was like, they were going for like this kind of 80s. Now, they definitely lean away from it, like, especially in 2. 2 is like totally like kind of goes this almost edgelord writing in certain parts. I love it. I do love it. But there are bits of it that I'm just like, ooh, okay, all right, we're going here. All right, sure. Why not?
the fact that, because on this playthrough, I'm playing a kind of mostly renegade character, but he does do a lot of Paragon stuff because he's a renegade who likes aliens, right? So he's got plenty of Paragon points because usually the renegade stuff is anti-alien. But having said that, he's still more renegade than Paragon. So, and I forgot that like Mass Effect 2 is like the stress from all of the like bad decisions you make is going to make your wounds open up, and it's like, I don't want my character to look different because I'm bad. Like that's a Fable 2 thing. It's fine in Fable 2. It doesn't make any sense in a Mass Effect thing.
If I remember correctly, and now this might have just been me, I downloaded like one bit of DLC. I don't remember because I didn't remember it being in the game, but there's like a surgery table or something that you can get as a ship upgrade, and it gets rid of the facial scars.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the DLC I want it. Oh, it might be. Because I think in the DLC you get like Shepard's like apartment, and maybe it's there. But there is a way where it's like if you don't like the look of like the fucked up face with the red eyes, you can get rid of it. But it's like
because I was playing a Paragon, and like I just noticed like the one scar on their cheek or whatever, and they said it was like, oh, I'm a good guy, it'll eventually go away or whatever. But like it was still kind of there, and it's meant to be there. But then they were like, hey, if you don't like that look, you can just get rid of it. And I was like, that's what I'm doing because I want to look clean face as fuck. I don't know, but
you spent the last year making sure you have the cleanest faces. So
I will get into this on another podcast. There are certain bits I hate the hairstyles in Mass Effect. God, I hate them.
They're god awful. Yes,
they're so bad. Okay, yes.
Moving on. And so that's kind of the overall look that I have. And I definitely like your in that actually works really well with what I'm going for. And then the only other really thing that I have presentation wise is I want to bring back the HUD. I love the information that you have for your party in the first game. I like knowing how many blocks of shield they have left, and also like with me wanting to focus the gameplay around buffs and debuffs. Like I think that like you should see almost like if you played like Final Fantasy 12, like the icons like for buffs and debuffs would like pop up like next to your character's health.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, they would be like very nicely readable so you would know exactly what they are. You know, one thing is obvious, like if you're poisoned, like they change your health bar to green. That makes a lot of sense. But, you know, I'm thinking more about stuff like, oh, like right now I've got like upgraded shields and I've got upgraded armor, you know, and so I can see that. And then same thing with enemies, like, you know, with the life bar above their head, you would see like, oh, and now I've got him, you know, like his shields are sapped and, you know, he's slowed down, you know, stuff like that. So
right.
There's actually been a lot of articles about this lately about like the death of the HUD because like people want games to be more immersive and stuff like that. And it's like, I get it, but you can make the game more immersive by getting rid of that stuff when you're just exploring the world and then have it fade in when you've got shit to do. And I think that's
I agree.
the best like middle ground for that.
I agree. I actually like HUDs, period. I just like them.
I like really well designed overwrought HUDs. Like one of the things I never said this when we were talking about Control last year. I hate how minimalist the HUD is, where it's like your life bar is just like a plain blue bar. And it looks like placeholder art, but that's the actual, that's what they went with. And I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm a fan of cool HUDs and just HUDs in general. Like, there's a ton of like, for example, there's a ton of Skyrim mods that are just like, take the HUD off or customize it the way you want so it isn't all up in your way. And I'm like, I just like the default one.
Mm-hmm.
Default one's fine. I know everything that's going on it. It's fine. I don't know.
I was looking at footage of, I think it was God of War 2 after I played, you know, God of War 2018. And I was like, yeah, man, look at that thing where it's like, you got the Blade of Chaos up there on the screen and it's got the life bar on top of it. And then you've got like that jewel that's showing you like when you can do magic. And then you go to God of War 2018 and it's like, here's a green bar. Here's a yellow bar for your stamina. Have fun.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Not a fan.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just gotta say, before we move on into listener comments, I want this game.
Yeah, this would be good.
I think this would be a lot of fun. And I'm not saying that to toot our own horns or anything like that. I'm just saying, you know, BioWare, these are free. Like, we just want to play a good Mass Effect game again. So take whatever you want from here and run with it. I realize that EA probably won't let you do like 90% of this shit because that's really what happened. I know it's not your fault, BioWare.
I'll be surprised if I ever see Mass Effect again. Not gonna lie.
They've said that there's something in the works on Mass Effect in some form or fashion. But then again, that could just be that remaster.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll see Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 again. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that Andromeda might have scared him a little bit. I hope they go back to it, but
I do too. And again, like I wouldn't mind if they did like a completely different genre if they don't want to go full RPG again.
Yeah.
And again, completely different setting. You don't have to do something that takes place after Mass Effect 3. You can, you know, there's plenty of places to go. You can go. I mean, that was a good thing about Andromeda is that it did take place in a new galaxy. I just didn't like the fact that this new galaxy seemed identical to the old galaxy to the point of even having like ancient alien technology that you were interacting with. And it's like, really? We're doing this again?
Andromeda, my biggest problem with Andromeda is, in just like looking at it from any standpoint, is like, yeah, but there's so much lore in the universe that you were in. Like, why don't you keep exploring that? Like, why add more from this other? No, we're in a new world because humanity's great. It's all about humans. And I'm like, but all this other stuff is so cool. Like, why don't you go into that? Like, I'd kill for like an XCOM game covering one of the wars or like anything. That'd be sweet, man. I'd fucking play the shit out of that. It'd be awesome. Like, you have so much cool shit.
I think if there hadn't been such a backlash to the ending of 3, they would have probably done something else in that galaxy, but they wanted to get as far away from the events of the trilogy as possible.
It's weird because the ending of 3 to me, and we'll get into it because I know one of our listeners talks about something post the ending of 3. To me, it's such a definitive ending. Like, I didn't play the DLC stuff because I didn't have the internet those times. So I don't know what the quote true ending is. I need to get around to like actually like, okay, I'm gonna play this and see what it was.
Did you never at least try to when they changed the ending? You didn't do that?
No, I didn't have the internet, so nothing.
Oh, right.
or
Okay,
anything like
okay.
that. So I've only played the vanilla stuff or out of the box shit. That's all I've ever seen. And I think I might have looked into what it was or whatever. I can't remember off the top of my head, but cause it's been a long time. But like to me, like that's it. That galaxy they solved it. It's done. Done. The end. Everybody's happy now.
Yeah.
So there's the only places to go is backwards to me. Like I guess you could go in the future, but you have to go so far into the future that like we'll talk about it because there's a listener comment where I'll talk about it. Yeah, like I don't know, it's tough. Like they wrote themselves into a bit of a corner.
Exactly.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Because spoilers for Mass Effect 3. I mean, it's been a while, but like the issue is that the mass relays are gone, which means you can't really have most of the races interact anymore, except if they were already like on a planet with other people. Like obviously the Citadel is fine because it's a big melting pot. But if you're on like Thessia, it's like 99% Asari. So it's like, do you set it on Thessia and then it's just a Asari commando game? That could be cool.
It could be cool. Like, don't get me wrong. It could be cool. Like, to see the fallout of that stuff. But like, yeah, they really wrote themselves into this corner. So it's like, and I think Andromeda was their attempt to like, well, this is our way out of that corner. Mm-hmm. And to me, I'm like, no, just go back. Just go back in time. You have such cool lore here and things that I would love to learn more about. Go back. Mm-hmm. Like there's plenty of stuff in this universe that you can do and stories I haven't heard and characters I would love to learn about. The Milky Way is fucking huge. It's fucking giant. Like there's tons of planets and shit to do. And I don't know. Like, yeah, writing in a future tech stuff, it just seems hard. I don't know. Yeah. Like, it's a hell of a spot they put themselves in, but that's the hole they got to take themselves out of.
One last thing with like mechanics and gameplay. I would bring back the planet exploration from the first game. I would just have your rover control better and make the planets more interesting to explore.
Okay. I'm going to say it right here on this podcast. It is not the way the rover controls. It is the fact that the aim does not aim where you fucking shoot it. It is terrible. Oh my God, whoever designed there's a rant brewing here that I'm saving for another podcast. Cause God damn it, tune into that to hear my full Mako fucking rant, cause it is coming.
I will, but also the physics need to be improved, cause like it feels weird when you're moving around.
It was a really interesting and cool idea, and it works when it works good. It works good, but man.
But again, the problem was like the problem was to fix it, not completely remove it from the game wholesale. Which again, that's what they did. So I would.
Yeah, no, I agree. There was potential in the Mako. It just needed some tuning, and they just didn't bother with it. They were just like, nah, just take the fucking thing out. Honestly, I hate to say this, I don't miss it that much. Like, I was just like, I don't miss it.
I miss it, but I miss it because, especially in Mass Effect 2, like a lot of it just feels like it's just a really like okay-ish third-person shooter, and I would have liked the variety.
I'll put it like this: I'll take the Mako any day over the scan the planet minigame.
There you go.
Any fucking day. That is the most tedious, boring, mindless bullshit minigame. Oh, I just hold the trigger down, scan the planet. Oh, I got some uranium there. Oh, that's good. Oh, this is great. Okay, gonna keep scanning the planet. Oh, got some gas on this one. Oh, look at that. We're gonna improve the ship a little bit with that one. Oh, that was a good haul from that planet there. Okay, now we're gonna move over to this X planet. We're gonna do this one.
Why did you turn Irish?
I don't know. This is the rich one. Look at all the platinum on this one. Oh, it's very great. Oh, we're gonna scan this. Oh, look, we got so much platinum from that planet. Can you believe it? Oh, it's so good. Look at all the platinum I have. It's great. Oh, now I'll go scan another planet. Oh, there's a radio signal here. Whoa, we gotta find the person. Oh, I hate that minigame. It sucks.
Especially because, like, actually, like, maneuvering the cursor around the planet is, like, the slowest thing it could possibly be.
You even buy trying improvement and it doesn't help. It's so bad. Oh, I hate it.
All right, we need to move on to actually making a new Mass Effect instead of griping about old Mass Effects. All right, so we didn't get a lot of comments for this, but the first one that we have is over at pixelbit.com. That's a website. We have video game stuff there as well as podcasts. First up is from Casey Curran, and he says, warning, I really, really love Mass Effect, and I know that for a fact. He says, set it 1,000 years after Mass Effect 3. The genophage was cured under Rex and Eve, and the Quarians made peace with the Geth, but every other choice will be up in the air and decided during conversations. For instance, if a character explains Shepard spared Caden, you can confirm it or correct them to say Shepard saved Ashley. I left out the Krogan and Quarian choices to ensure the two races are still in the game. The galaxy has two councils, the more powerful one called the Alliance Council and is led by humans, who were spared in large numbers by Reapers to create a new one that never reached the phase where people were killed. Because of this, they weren't as hurt as some other races by the war. Their initiative and leadership were crucial to the galaxy to recover. Quarians. Their exile ended up being perfect experience to aid other species in recovering. They still wear their suits out of tradition, but without the glass masks, unless in space, as their immune systems have recovered. Oh, okay, that makes sense. If it's like 1,000 years later, they would have been able to kind of evolve out of that or get reacclimated to atmosphere. Geth,
yeah, sure.
If you picked Destroy, the Quarians quickly rebuilt them, and either way, they now live as AI in ships and spacesuits. They're preparing to leave the galaxy, however, to join as one collective consciousness. The Krogan. Rex led their military to wipe out any chaos after the war, while Eve eliminated their archaic customs. Krogan are still known for being soldiers, but are more similar to Turians in the trilogy, as they also thrive politically, economically, and especially scientifically. I like that actually a lot. Solarian colonists, splintered off from the Dalatras, but otherwise largely the same. They want to unify, but not under the current Dalatras's terms, favoring an uncentralized leadership. Turians, the weakest of the main races, as they were hit the hardest by the Reaper War to cripple their strong military and still haven't fully recovered even 1,000 years later. The Krogan replacing their role has left them lost as a society. They're still a powerful race, just not as the superpower that they once were. The Alliance Council is far from perfect, but is trying to keep the galaxy united, with every race having a say unless they choose not to associate. The ones who don't form the Terminus Council, which are led by the Asari, who created a lot of mistrust from hiding Prothean tech, with some blaming the Reaper War's severity on them. The accusation was blown out of proportion, but the Asari created their own council led by Arya T'Loak when the old one fell apart. Modern Asari are very influenced by her leadership, creating a cutthroat culture, with Arya's first replacement still in power, and so similar there's rumors she's really Arya's daughter. The Yogg. Arya helped uplift this race to be their muscle to counter Krogans. The Yogg are more civilized than in Mass Effect 2 and 3, but still highly aggressive and a common enemy in the game.
Question real quick, which ones are the Yogg?
Did you play the Layer of the Shadow Broker DLC on Mass Effect 2?
I did not. And here's a fun story about Mass Effect 2. It is really hard to buy the DLC now because you need Microsoft points, and I don't know how to get them anymore.
Seriously? You can't just buy it from the store?
Nope.
Weird.
Yep.
Okay.
It's real weird.
So you find out that, again, spoilers for this piece of DLC from 10 years ago.
Oh, it's fine.
You find out that the Shadow Broker, so the Shadow Broker used to be some person that had this alien called a Yogg working under it. But the Yogg ended up really learning quickly and eventually took over and killed the original Shadow Broker. And so I think the Yogg are actually enemies in the third game. Again, I've only played it the one time, so I don't remember. But they're big, hulking brutes. They almost look like hairless gorillas. Big hairless gorillas, maybe almost twice the size.
Okay.
And yeah, so they are kind of Krogan-like. So what Casey is saying makes a lot of sense. Because they're very underdeveloped as a species, but they learn very quickly.
Got it. That answered my question. no wonder I have not heard of them or don't remember them. They might, Okay, great. Cool. Continue.
All right, next, the Hanar. The Asari lured them with Prothean artifacts and knowledge. Hanar are good-intentioned, but zealous with their Prothean religion and will assist Asari with anything. The Drell. Having recovered thanks to Asari aid and have as much loyalty to them as the Hanar. They're still dangerous assassins, but their perfect memory have made them thrive in science and politics. Solarian Dalatras, a powerful force but a shell of the Solarians in the trilogy, wants to use the Terminus Council to conquer colonist worlds but is being used by the Asari. And Casey moves on. The plot of the game will work like Dragon Age Origins, letting you pick human, Quarian, Asari, and Drell between those. Each origin ends with an aged Liara asking you to join her on an expedition to stop a group of terrorists. From there, you will discover they found an ancient race's incomplete crucible and work for the Terminus Council, eventually revealing their intentions. If Shepard destroyed, they want to use it to control all of Geth before they leave the galaxy, to seize control of spacesuits and ships to conquer the Alliance Council. If you chose control from the ending, they plan to control the Shepard VI and bring back the Reapers. If you chose synthesis, they plan to hijack the Geth to locate the Reapers and conquer them. The player can then take control for themselves or destroy the method to control the Geth, siding with either or neither council, with the player able to destroy both councils or force an alliance between the two. And then he says, as far as gameplay goes, if I didn't mention it, I agree with everything Julian says. Thank you, Casey. I like a lot of this setup, but I actually see these being flipped. I would see, and maybe this is just because of like having, this fresh playthrough where we were talking before the show about how shitty the humans are, but I would see the humans as being the ones that want to like take control of the Geth and, like bring back the Reapers. And cause the Asari have always been like the mediators of the galaxy of the council races. So I wouldn't see them being this antagonistic group. And I understand when he's saying that it's because of like Arya's leadership, but I just don't know that they would go for that. I don't know. Like that's the part I'm not too keen on.
Yeah, Arya doesn't seem like she has like any interest in politics either.
Right.
As a character. Like that is not her thing. She is comfortable where she's at. She fucking says it. She is Omega. Like that is her, like fuck with her. Like you go to Omega, you go through her.
Yeah.
Like that's her fucking spot. Like she went through hell and high water. Like you meet that one dude he's called like the matriarch or whatever. And like it's just this Krogan that like she fucking disgraced and took over most of the stuff. And he just sits in this room bitching about it the entire time, and she just leaves him there. Like fuck with me, I dare you. So yeah, it's interesting. Like doing 1,000 years later is so hard because, like I said, it just felt like after 3 they wrote themselves into this weird corner. And like, if all the mass relays are gone, right? Like, how are...
Right. So I'm thinking, he didn't say it in his breakdown, but I'm thinking that 1,000 years is enough time for people to figure out mass relay technology.
I suppose you could probably rebuild them. Yeah. Or figure that out.
Because I mean, part of the thing is that they say that like, we don't understand the mass relays. Like we still don't understand this technology, but I would think with all of the Reaper like carcasses around, that would probably catapult technology by it would be kind of like when humanity found the Citadel, right? Like their tech went advanced by like 100 years in a right away.
You're right. They could probably figure it out pretty quick. The only other note I have about this story, it's not bad. It's like very detailed, super lore heavy. You fucking nerd. I love it. The only like big thing that I have is like, okay, so you're 1,000 years later. I don't think the choices that Shepard made would matter at that point. I mean, they obviously like the ending
stuff, right? Yeah, but I don't think anybody's going to care about Caden.
But everybody's like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like 1,000 years in the future, like that guy died 1,000 years ago. Like I don't care about him. Like maybe he's in a history book.
I killed Caden like 2 weeks ago, and I don't care about Caden.
I went into that playthrough. I'm going to save Caden. I totally didn't.
No, it's impossible. Even when I did it, I take that back. Even when I romanced Caden, I still killed Caden.
Yeah, but no, this is interesting. Like I just like those are my couple notes for it. But yeah, man, it's tough. That's why I stayed away from this stuff, because I was like, I like the galaxy still intact, and it's tough to go into the future. I commend you for actually doing it and kind of making it work. So, yeah. After that, we have Super Step. And he has a much shorter answer here. He says, make it a SpaceX-focused spin-off and completely reformat the gameplay to be like something from Don't Nod Entertainment. Because I have no connection to the series, and I'm honestly just interested in branching dialogue choices specifically. Remember when you asked me to make the next Final Fantasy game? How'd that turn out for you? Exactly.
Okay, now, Super Step, I know you don't like turn-based JRPGs, but why the hell have you not played Mass Effect? Like, I think this would be, like, right up your alley. That doesn't make any sense to me, honestly.
Yeah, it's not turn-based. It's definitely not. It's an action RPG. You should try it.
Yeah. I mean, I play it where it's kind of turn-based, but that's because I'm crazy.
Also, Mass Effect Dating Simulator would be kind of fun. I would play that. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, the thing, honestly, like, one thing that I liked, and maybe this is because, of your asexuality, is that you didn't talk about, like, romance options and stuff, and I like that. I did. Because, like, and I'll repeat this on Games My Mom Found, but, like, the thing that's turned me off about Mass Effect more than, like, where the series is BioWare fans. Because, like, invariably, whenever a new BioWare game comes out, they're like, who are we gonna fuck? And it's like, dude, like, first of all, it's like, that's not the focus of these games. And second of all, like, if you're romancing a character, that is also not the focus of that relationship. And the fact that that's all you're thinking about says a lot about you as a person. And not in a good way.
Yeah, I will talk about that on a different podcast, because I have some interesting feelings about Mass Effect romance. But yeah, it's, I mean, yeah, you could put them in the game. I mean, they could be there. It's never...
I always appreciated getting to know the character and the relationship more than the actual final act. Like, again, my all-time favorite romance in any video game was Meryl in Dragon Age 2. Because one, it wasn't clear for a long part of the game that she was even a romance option. And it was really cool because, like, the only reason that I knew she was is because, like, someone in the party was saying, hey, why don't you ask him out? And she's like, oh no, I couldn't. And I was like, oh, is she into me? And then the really cool thing is, like, after they hook up for the first time, they continue their relationship. And also the really cool thing is that she's extremely uncomfortable being, like, living among humans in a human city. And it becomes like a thing. And I was like, that's really cool and realistic. And I would love to see where they go from there after Dragon Age 2. But of course, you don't get to see that.
Yeah, Mass Effect romance is really weird, especially going game to game. I don't know, it's weird. Again, that's another podcast.
I will have some words about, because I'm doing a very specific thing with this current Shepherd that I've never done before. But again, we'll talk about that on the other podcast.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's it for pixelbit.com. So now we will head over to twitter.com. Where a few other people have sent comments. And once again, we have champion Xavier Krieger, who has a nice lengthy comment, and you can follow him at Cadus Bane, and you really should, because he's a nice dude.
He's very nice.
He says, I would love for the next Mass Effect game to take place during the First Contact War. In my mind, the general story would be a human ship that crashes on a Turian planet and ends up marooned and forced to survive. The beginning few hours of the game would be you meeting aliens, mainly Turians, but other species as well, and forming an alliance to survive and get back to civilization. The game would continue from there, and with you trying to recruit a team of multiple species in an attempt to prove that all species can be allies. I imagine the team going through missions secretly, taking out extremists on multiple sides of war, biochemical plants, maybe some captured slave farms, etc. Gameplay-wise, I just want to return to the RPG elements from 1. I want a fully realized branching skill tree that feels like it really changes how I play, so my Vanguard can feel and play differently than my friends does. I also would rather choose my class and have deep options inside my class instead of on-the-fly class changes from Andromeda, which also Andromeda's class change thing completely breaks the lore of the game. You can't just choose to be a biotic, people.
Oh, that's weird. You can just do that?
Yeah, you can just do that.
That's not how that works.
I know it's not how that works.
That's so weird. Oh my god, I hate Andromeda the more I learn about it. God, that game.
Xavier continues, he says, I also want them to bring back the inventory system, but update it so it isn't painful to navigate. I love the picking up and switching around of weapons, and I really like the ability to mod your weapons and armor. Odd and clunky it may be at times, but I'm playing Witcher 3 right now, and I like its inventory management a lot, so maybe something in that vein. I also want a more nuanced Paragon/Renegade system where you may have options that are full Paragon, maybe one that's a small amount of Paragon, and the same options for Renegade to allow for more options in dialogue, while still maintaining the overall system that has been established. Finally, and this isn't really a game thing, but I want more in-universe lore. Give me more books and comics, maybe an animated series. Hell, give me a board game set in this world because I think this universe has so much potential.
I agree.
That is one thing that I did like about EA's involvement around that time was them, kind of doing this cross-media thing with a lot of their games. Like, we talked about it in our religion episode. I read the fucking Dead Space book, right? I reread the prequel Mass Effect book, just this, the last couple of weeks to have that in my head. And I was on Twitter and I was like, I don't remember if I read the third one. I did read the third one. It's on my shelf. I just forgot. So, I'll reread the second book before the second game and the third book before the third game. But,
nice.
I love that stuff. And I read this really good Mass Effect comic that was centered around Arya. She was like trying to retake, Omega after it had been like snatched out from under her. It was a really cool, story.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, Arya's fucking cool, man.
She is, yeah.
I love Arya. I forgot how much I loved her until I started playing 2 again. I was like, oh yeah, she was great. All right. After that, we have our buddy Philip PK Becker. He is at PK Becker on the Twitter.com. He's a good guy. Sometimes he wears sandals. I'm just making up facts about people now. That's what I'm doing. He says, all I really want from a new Mass Effect is the framework of 2 married with the leveling systems of 1.
And I think, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty close to what I could see it.
Our game definitely swings for the fences a little bit more, but I think if you really boil down gameplay wise, that's definitely more
for the most
going
part,
towards. Yeah.
Indeed. I agree.
All right. Next up, we have John Marinkovich, who is on Twitter at John Marinkovich. And he says, I guess I'll start off by saying this. I'm pretty easy to please. I just want a fully fleshed out game. I swear if I see any kind of microtransactions or loot boxes in this thing, I'll break my TV and demand my money back. I think that in order to get back to greatness, we also need to leave Andromeda behind. It was a fun game, but it wasn't a great game like the other 3 were. Well, at least until the very end of Mass Effect 3. God, that was terrible. Did you feel betrayed at the end? Because I did. I did not, actually. I thought the ending was fine. I've got my problems with Mass Effect 3 are like in the first 3/4 of it.
Yeah, I think most people, their main complaint, and I do remember kind of thinking this, it was weird that like when you did get to the end, especially in like vanilla game, it just was like, pick one of these endings instead of like all your choices culminating into this, this is the ending you're getting because these are the choices you made type of thing. And it is a little bit weird and disappointing in that aspect. I do see where people are.
It also, but those things wouldn't have necessarily affected the ending. It would have been leading up to the ending. Like you didn't get that.
Yeah.
Because remember in Mass Effect 2, like as soon as you get through the Omega 4 relay, like that's when you see, like the game starts chugging because it's factoring in your decisions. Like, does somebody die here? No, you're fine. You got the armor for the ship, right? And so it's constantly like deciding like what's happening. And there isn't that thing in Mass Effect 3 where, like you get to see like you hear about it, right? Like you get like little mission briefs. It's like, oh, the Rachni Queen, is doing this thing to help the Crucible. It's like, you never even really see the Crucible get used if memory serves. So that stuff definitely, but that is not the argument I've ever heard about the ending. I've never actually heard a coherent reasoning for not liking the ending other than like, they didn't like the ending. Like
That's mostly what the argument that I've heard actually is that like big fans of the series when it came right down to it, when you got to the very end, it was like pick the blue one or the red one.
Right.
That's the ending you get. And it's like, so what was all the other stuff about then? Like if no matter how I played it, I could have just picked the blue one or the red one.
Yeah, but see that, and to me that's the other 3/4 of the game's fault because like all of the other decisions from 1 and 2, they still affect the third game. Like I got all of this closure, you know, like leading up to the end of the game that I thought was fantastic. But the stuff that you do in Mass Effect 3 specifically doesn't affect the end of Mass Effect 3. And that's weird.
Exactly. That's what I think.
But it wasn't such a thing where it's like, I've been so betrayed and I you know, fuck this series forever, because that was definitely the mentality at the time.
I didn't have that feeling either. I remember thinking like, all right, like, but not being like, oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen or anything like that. But
I mainly just wanted like a little bit more with like the characters at the end, and that is what they added in the extended ending, and that was fine. One
of these days I'll get around to playing through that.
Yeah. Anyway, John, John has more. Cause
I apologize, my bad.
Yeah. He says, I think seeing the rebuilding after Shep decides to, spoiler alert, control, destroy, or synthesize with the Reapers would be cool. Let's see the nitty-gritty side of the Milky Way and help rebuild in the aftermath while trying to avoid a corrupt takeover in the vacuum of power left because of the Reaper Wars. Oh, and can we add multiplayer to the story mode? Is that too much to ask? No. I can't tell you how many times I've talked with Blaine about how much better Mass Effect would be if the game let us do co-op. I'm sorry, but me and Justin are very antisocial people, and we're not on board with that.
Actually, he does have that. Would be an interesting kind of cool thing to do. Co-op would be kind of neat. I don't know how you do it, but that's a neat mechanic. It
would be cool if you could also do some sort of like co-op decision making like they do in like the Until Dawn games.
Yeah, Man of Medan, where like you're kind of like voting or whatever, and that'd be neat. Yeah, okay, all right, you're onto something here, John. All right, I like that. I don't like the multiplayer ideas, but okay, go.
He says, let's be honest here for a second though. I'm gonna buy the sumbitch regardless if the game is good or bad. I just like to see it fully fleshed out and not play another 300 hours spanning 3 games and making decisions that affect subsequent games, only to have those choices culminate in getting to decide which shitty Instagram filter we get to see in the ending scene. Again, I think that you get to see a ton of those decisions from the first 2 games carry over into the third one. There's just there's a few things that are annoying.
Also, I it's funny, memory's a tricky thing, but like Mass Effect games are actually pretty short.
They are, yeah.
Compared to like a lot of RPGs nowadays, they are short games. I remember being like, oh, it's over. Oh, shit. All right. We're at the end.
I always do 100% runs on Mass Effect 1 when I play it, and it always takes me right around 40 hours. This time it took me 25 because I played it on easy for the first time, and that was a mistake. Wow. That was a huge mistake.
I played it on normal, and it took me about 30 hours-ish, something like that. Yeah. It wasn't too bad. Yeah. Like, I was blazing a fucking trail through that shit, man. Like, after that, we have our buddy Blaine Fair. He is at Blaine Fair at twitter.com. He makes his own shoes out of milk cartons. It's a very impressive thing that he does.
Hey, look, like this episode is coming out like the day after the election, so that's probably going to be a really useful trait coming up very shortly.
You got a good hustle economy going, Blaine Fair. He says this. He says, so for the next Mass Effect game, I want a prequel because I really want to explore the First Contact War. Basic story would be about the main character navigating the war. I think it would be cool if your decisions would dictate how the human race finds its way through the war and therefore the newly found bigger galaxy. And your choices would obviously affect what happens in the next games, because I'm thinking along the lines of a trilogy. There also wouldn't be good or bad choices. They'd be more like, do you put the human race first or not? Do you sacrifice some for the many or save everyone but lose something else? More like the original Renegade and Paragon systems, because just good and evil systems are kind of boring. Now, the crappy thing about prequels is they usually end up with more advanced technology than the original games. That is a good point. Mm-hmm. To solve that, it would be cool if your abilities and tech were experimental. For instance, if you went to the biotics way, you could have techniques that may not have been in the original games, but are not perfected. So as you play, the abilities you invest in is the direction biotics develop for humans. But since it is experimental, there may be drawbacks to using the abilities, so you have to choose which to perfect. And this could be the way everything works. Guns, tech, abilities, etc., etc. However you want to play, that's how the abilities evolve for the human race. I would like the combat to be like the original, as well as the ability trees because damn, those were epic. I'm hoping I'm explaining this correctly, because that's in my little brain. What's in my little brain is freaking awesome.
So
I have one question for my Mass Effect lore expert, Julian Titus. Were biotics around in the first Contact War for humans?
No.
Or did that come in when I was going to say, I thought the Turians brought that in.
Well, no, I don't think that there are Turian biotics either. But here's the thing is that, yeah, you wouldn't have biotics if you're playing as a human in the first Contact War. And actually, even 10 years after the first Contact War, humans don't really know about biotics. That was one of the big things in the prequel book. Is that there's an encounter with a Krogan battlemaster and some mercenaries, and one of them is a human, and the human is like talking some shit to this Krogan, which I don't know why a human would ever talk shit to a Krogan. But the human doesn't realize that he's charging up like a biotic move because he's never seen biotics before. And there's another part later on where he uses biotics on like some Alliance soldiers, and they don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right. Well, now, I know Turians... Okay, this is weird because I remember Caden's... This is weird that I'm quoting fucking Caden.
Oh, you're right. Caden's teacher was Turian. Right. I think they're very rare. Like, Turian biotics are, like, even more rare than Krogan biotics. Because
he was constantly telling Caden, I drove the I was on the dreadnought that killed your grandfather or something like that, or something weird. Yeah. And then Caden's a dumbass. But anyway... that's how that story went. I was just curious, cause I couldn't remember, and if I remember right, that was like the first instances of the humans kind of getting into biotics, cause I remember he was like a
L2.
Yeah. That's the one. And he gets like headaches and shit like that. And, I don't, this is part I've always been a little bit squiffy on with the lore. I don't know if only humans need to have implants in order to access their biotics. Cause I want to say that Asari can just do it and they don't need anything installed. There's also the weird case of Jack, who she's basically trained to be a biotic from when she's a kid. Mm-hmm. So you have to put that into the time frame. And she's like whatever age when you meet her in 2, and she's been experimented on. She's lived all this. It's weird. Well, time gets a little. She's really young, and actually there is a book that covers that program. Cool. Because there is like. That was Cerberus. So this first book takes place about 10 years after the first Contact War. And so at one point, because there's like a secret like human research project into AI, which as you know is like forbidden in the council races. But when they get found out about this base, they tell the council that they were developing a human biotics program. Which wasn't what they were doing, but they figured that's a way to like, get out of this. But eventually the council finds out they were working on AI, and somehow the human ambassador is still able to not only get off with the slap on the wrist, but actually makes demands of the council. Humans fucking suck, Justin. Humans are just good at arguing, apparently. Yeah. They're like, okay, not only do we not have to pay for what we did with the biotics, but also we got all this stuff from the council. They're paying us to build the wall, is what we're saying. Yes. Yeah. God. Yeah. I would also like to say this is the nerdiest shit that I think we've ever talked about on this podcast. It's up there. Love it. It's up there. I love it. Yeah. I love how deep this is going right now. I'm so immersed in the franchise again. Like that was what I wanted to do with this Games My Mom Found. You couldn't have timed this better, honestly. All right. Well, last but certainly not least, we have our buddy Jeffka, who says, I've never actually played Mass Effect. Maybe they should make a new Dragon Age instead. I actually really liked Inquisition and wouldn't mind more. Well, we're getting that before we get another Mass Effect. They are working on that. Yeah. Supposedly. Jeff. Okay. I like you. You're fine. Yeah. But sometimes you hurt my head. You vex me so, Jeffka. All right. Well, that was a very fun stage select. Again, even though we didn't get a lot from the listeners, we got some very deep shit from the listeners that did submit. So I hope people learned a lot, and if you've never played a Mass Effect game, maybe now you will be like, what the fuck are they talking about? Let me go give this dumb bullshit a try.
Yeah, hopefully this was still entertaining if you're not a Mass Effect fan. And yeah, like, like I said, there's supposed to be that remaster coming out, but also, like, if you have an Xbox One, like, they're all on back compat, and there's also that that's the problem, is if you have PlayStation 4, you can't play that PlayStation 3 trilogy because PlayStation 4 isn't cool like that. So
also, if you know how to download the Mass Effect 2 DLC, tell me. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, see, I already had it, so I'm lucky that it's like when I installed Mass Effect 2 on my Xbox One, it was just like, here's all this shit that you get. I was like, okay, cool, it's all there.
I went to it and I was like, okay, how do I do it? And it was like, you need this many Microsoft points. And I was like, what? That's
so
a thing?
weird.
It's because you have to do it inside the game menu. And the only outside one they had was, okay, there was a thing that you could play before Mass Effect 2 that would let you make all the decisions from 1. That was one of the DLCs that they had. I was like, well, I don't need that. And they had a bigger one, and I can't remember what it was about, but it doesn't have like Kasumi. It doesn't have the Liara story. Right. It doesn't have that stuff at all. And I was like, what? I was like, I know this stuff's here. How do I get to it? And I went into the game menu and they're all there, but I'm like, can you buy Microsoft points? I don't know. And I was like afraid to try. Right. I was like, I'll be honest, I was afraid to try.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you just weren't able to do it anymore. I think if you buy I think if you buy them, it's just going to convert it over like it did before.
Dollars? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because at some point they did get rid of like the Microsoft points thing, but then it just meant that you were just paying like the actual amount of money for the thing, whatever it converted to. So you might.
I'm sure when I go to play this again for if Games My Mom Found does Mass Effect 2, if I play it again, I will then try to go out of my way for the DLCs to make it different from this time playing through.
If not, then I would recommend getting the PC version and just like,
that's
modding
true.
in. Because I know you can mod, like, you can pick every choice that you wanted to import into Mass Effect 2. There's like a cool program where you can, because obviously if you're just like playing a fresh Mass Effect 2 game without importing a save, there's a few things that you can choose. But on the PC, there's actually a program where you can make every single decision that you would have made in a playthrough of Mass Effect 1. Because there are certain things that they don't let you choose that do come into effect. Like, you'll meet like Giannani Persini from Noveria. She was like the undercover cop. Like, if you helped her in Mass Effect 1, then you'll run into her in Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, I did. There's also the you run into a character that's like taken over by the Rachni Queen. She's not taken over, but like she's like in
like a conduit for the Rachni Queen.
Yeah,
just to say
I love
hey,
that
thanks
part.
for helping us, and we're doing okay. But if you kill the Rachni Queen, that doesn't even happen.
That doesn't happen. Like, oh man, there was like Ilium's cool, man. That was when all the like shit started popping off from the old game.
Oh yeah, because you also run into the if you saved her, you run into the Asari that was the Thorian thrall. Like, she's there too.
Yes, yeah, she's there too. Yeah, exactly. It's like, here's all your decisions from this old game. And there was one more. There's one more that's from the old game. I know there's Conrad Werner, but there's one more. No, it's a main quest. But if you did the side quest, you know who they're talking about. The side quest to get Thane, the person who he's trying to assassinate, is a lady in Mass Effect 1. She gives you a quest to go find her sister. Yeah.
Oh wait, no. The Asari?
No. Helena's on Omega. She's this one's in Asari. She was like a politician in the first game, right? And she was like, I need my sister like killed or whatever. And you find out her sister was like a slaver or something like that. And she's like, you go back and you're like, your sister was this, and she's like, oh yeah, I just need you to kill him because if they found out about that shit, I'm in deep shit. Like, and like now she's like this cold-blooded like millionaire or whatever 2 years later.
All right, we got to get out of this like deep Mass Effect hole. Justin,
okay, yeah, you're right.
the next stage select is yours. So I understand that you have the most clickbaity of clickbait stage select picks.
I do. It's easy. It's very simple. We need everybody on board. I need all these things, okay? And we need a feel-good stage select. Mm-hmm. So I just want to know, what are people's favorite video game dogs? Very simple. Video game dogs. I need the best ones. What do you think are the best ones? Who are the best boys? Who are the good girls? I need them all. It's very easy. That's what I'm going for. If you don't like dogs, if you're more of a cat person, if you're one of those kind of people, that's fine. I accept that. Who are the worst dogs? If you want to go that route, you can flip it on its head. I don't care. But I want the best dogs. There's a lot of video game dogs.
There are a lot of video game dogs.
There are a lot.
Excellent. All right. And we will want those entries by 8:30 Central Time on November 13th. That's the day that the PlayStation 5 comes out, and hopefully the world isn't completely on fire, and I can maybe play it for a few days before, like, we go into full civil war and the power gets cut.
Exactly. We need feel good dogs.
We need all the emergency feel good dogs. That's gonna be the name of that's gonna be the name of the next episode. Emergency feel good dogs. Pull the puppy lever.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
All right. And as always, you can head on over to pixelbit.com and comment in the show thread for episode 188. Holy crap, we're getting so close to 200. You can also go to twitter.com and DM us at NWPcast, or you can send us a message on facebook.com/nerdswithoutpants podcast. But that's going to do it for this stage select. So let's hop on into Consumption Junction. And, I guess, I really don't have anything to talk about again. So, Justin,
okay.
if you want to go.
Not much, huh? I don't have much either, so that's good. We dumped all this Mass Effect lore on people. Like I said, I played Mass Effect 2. I played through the entirety of that game. That was fun.
Yeah.
But that's we enough Mass Effect.
Well, real quick, do you ever look at Jacob's lips and just be like, man, those are some realistic looking lips? Like, there's something about Jacob's face that looks like so good compared to like the rest of the game.
Yeah, like you look at Miranda. Miranda looks weird. Okay.
Also, and that's extra weird because she's a real person. Like she's the one like real person in the game.
Really?
Yeah, she's an actress from Chuck, the show Chuck.
Wow, interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really weird. And she looks weird in that game. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, there's something like about her head being too big, in my opinion, compared to the rest of her body. And I don't think it's her fault. I doubt that's how she looks in real life. It's just there's something like the angle or something. I don't know. It's weird.
That was not to go back to the stage select too much, but that was the reason why I wanted to go for more of like a stylistic choice instead of trying, because there are certain characters that they tried to model after real people, and it's like, no, let's not. We don't need to do that shit for every game.
I mean, Jacob is a handsome guy.
Yeah,
he's a very handsome man.
I just look at him and it's like, man, like what? You look like 10 times better than everybody else in this game. It's really weird.
I romanced Thane. I had no regrets. He's a fucking dreamboat. I love that man. Anyway, so yeah, I played that. And then I played the shit out of Hades. I put 70, 80 hours into Hades.
Yeah, man, like last time you were like, it's pretty good. I don't know if I'm going to play it much more. And then when the episode came out, you were like, no, actually, I played it a lot more. And then even after that, I was like, I saw you tweet and I was like, oh shit, like this is a thing.
Dude, it's really good.
I really want to play it. I just, again, I'm just waiting for console.
I'm going to try to sell you on this, and this may be the weirdest comparison I've ever made. And it's because I'm comparing it to something that I've never really touched myself, but I've watched played and know how it works kind of. So Hades combat-wise reminds me of isometric Doom. Like,
interesting.
Never stop moving. You have a double dash. You're in and out. There's even a gun in the game. Like, you can have the adamant rail and do all this stuff. But like, imagine that, you're just putting like, every time I dash, like I knock all the enemies away from me, and also a lightning bolt hits them. And also then I rush in and punch them a bunch, and that knocks them away. And then I press Y on my PC controller. And then I do a dragon uppercut, which draws them in like Scorpion and then knocks them away again. And then I keep doing that to them until they die. Dude, there's so much like cool customization and like builds and shit that you can do in this game. Like, it's awesome. And the way, oh man, it's so good. That game is so good. I had so much fun the further I got. Like, it started like, it was like maybe a few days after the podcast. Like I kind of put it down and I beat Mass Effect 2. And I was like, okay, well, guess I'll go back into Hades. I'll probably just play it for a couple hours. I'm just bored. I just want to kind of do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I got to the Bone Hydra, which I was like, oh, I never got this far. This is cool. And it killed me. And I was like, okay, well, I think I can get back there again. Let me try. And I did it. And then I beat him. And I got to Elysium. And I was like, oh, neat. I'm here. Okay, let's see where this goes. And then I got so far, and then I got to the next boss, like in that same run. And I was like, oh, man, this is cool. All right. And those guys slaughtered me. I still hate those guys. Every time I fight them. And then suddenly I was like, oh, I'm there. I'm at the guy. All right. Let's do it. And then he killed me a bunch of times, because I'm terrible. And then but it just kept escalating. I was just to the point where I was like, I can't put this game down. And then I beat it. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, okay, well, we're done.
Right.
I beat it. I got through a run. And then the game goes, wait a second. There's more. And I went, oh, okay. I wouldn't mind doing it again. Why not? I'm down for this. Let's go. And then I just kept beating it, and I've beaten it a bunch of times, and it's like,
it sounds like me with Diablo 3, like the way you're talking.
it really does, man. That game is so tough to describe to somebody. Like, man, you really got to play it.
Yeah, I've loved what I've seen from it, and then everything that I've heard sounds like it's interesting because I think you and I are kind of on the same wavelength where we're kind of wusses with super challenging games. And it's not necessarily that we don't want to be challenged. It's just that we're aware of what we can do, and we don't necessarily go out of that bubble too often. Yeah. But I don't know about you, but when I do, I tend to be very satisfied. I remember beating Rogue Legacy on PS4 was a huge milestone for me. And yeah. I really liked, I never talked about this on the show, but I played a good amount of Dead Cells on Game Pass, which is another run-based game. And I love that game. It was just, at the time, I was playing other stuff, but it plays so well. And
if you like Dead Cells and just that kind of roguelike type thing, you will love Hades. Yeah. And Hades is even more forgiving than a game like that because every time you're going through a run, you're working on the mirror stuff, which is basically buffs that stay with you. So hey, now you can put all these points into here, and every time you hit somebody in the back, it deals more damage or whatever. And you can switch them around, and there's a ton of them, and you're constantly unlocking things like that. And then you can get nectar to give to characters so you can learn more about their stories, which is really fun. There's a moment in Hades, and I would not have expected it in this game, that I legit started crying. I was so moved by it. It was so good. And I had to work my ass off to get it, but it was awesome. And it wasn't the ending for anybody out there. There was a different thing with some side characters that I just adored. And, it's great. It's just a great game. You gotta play it. Yeah. When it comes to console, man, I'll put it like this. If it weren't for Persona 5 is my game of the year. I love Persona 5, but as far as games that came out this year, this is the best one I played. Nice. It's hands down game of the year for me, for 2020. It's fucking great. Yeah. Didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but when you get to the end and then there was a point even one of the characters is remember where you were when you first started all this? And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Now if I don't get to the last guy, I'm that was a terrible run. It's good. The game's just good.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. I would imagine that probably early next year, they'll have it ready for, PS4 and Xbox One
at
least.
I hope so.
Cause if it's on Switch, there's really no reason for it to not, I don't, obviously we don't know what it takes to port things to different systems. Right. But from what I understand is once you've done the work to port it to one system, you're pretty much all the way there. Cause that's been my issue with not my issue, but one thing that I've felt bad about the Xbox One about is that if a game comes out on the PC, then there's no reason why it shouldn't be released on the Xbox One because the architecture is so similar. And so that finally started to happen. My thing was that once Dragon Quest XI came out on PC, I was like, well, you should really release that on Xbox. And then same thing with the Yakuza games. And now they are. They have all the Yakuza games. Well, most of the Yakuza games on
they're
Xbox.
starting to, yeah.
And then Dragon Quest is coming out in November, so that's cool. Now that the system is done. But, but yeah, like I would hope that it would be soon-ish. Because
I hope so too.
There's stuff that I'm really looking forward to for the end of the year that'll take me a lot of time to beat. But then beginning of the year, I'm going to be going back and playing old games again because there's not a lot coming out at the beginning of the year that I'm waiting for.
Yeah, there really isn't. But yeah, man, I love that game. It's one thing to look at it and go, yeah, that looks pretty fun. And then to like feel it and then to like start experimenting with all the stuff that you can actually do. Like there's times where I'm like, there's no way that works the way I hope it works, right? And then it does. And I'm like, holy shit. There's times where I'm like, I beat it with every weapon so far just to do it. Cause I was like, I want to say that I did at least this cause I'm not good at the game and I suck with certain weapons, but I was like, I want to beat it with every weapon. And I just found this one build that worked with everything. It's the Poseidon Zeus build for those interested. And I was just like, this is like the most busted thing that I feel like I can do. And sometimes it doesn't come together, but when it does, it's just like, holy shit, there's nothing can touch me. And it's that feeling of like, man, I am so overpowered here. And it's great. Like, it's a good game. It's a good game. I love it. So let's talk about a game I don't like. Let's just do that. Watchdogs Legion is a game that just came out.
Shit! Okay, I was going to ask you if you were going to get it because I'm curious about this.
Yeah, I bought it. I've been playing it since it came out. It came out like I think Thursday night, something like Wednesday night. Because I played it all Thursday and then a little bit today.
So you finished it?
No, I didn't. I keep stopping playing it. I don't know how to say that correctly because I don't like this game very much. Yeah. So I've never played a Watchdogs game before. Do all of them feel like GTA or Saints Row 3, but just terrible? Just those games, but terrible.
So
like that's how it feels.
I played a good chunk of the first Watchdogs, and that was exactly my complaint. Was that it was just it was like a by the numbers open world game. And one of the things that I really hated was that a lot of it was drive all the way across town to go do this thing because we need you to hear this exposition dialogue and then drive back across town to go do this other thing. And that, like, I got about like 10 hours into it and I was done.
This game fucking loves that trick. Let me tell you, they love it. Oh my god. Okay.
Now I hear Watch Dogs 2 is actually really good. Like it's got like a really good like sense of humor and tone, and the characters are really interesting. But obviously, I don't want to step on your toes, but the thing that Legion looked so interesting about was the whole like, again, like the Shadow of Mordor type thing where you've got like this like dynamic generated, character thing where they just, with recruiting NPCs to be actual playable characters.
Yeah. So that was what turned me on. I remember when this game got shown, I was like, that is such a cool idea that I really, really want to try it. And I never touched a Watch Dogs game, didn't give a shit about the series. And I was like, that seems awesome. I really want to give that a shot. I could not wait to like kind of like walk around and build your little crew. And that part of the game is neat. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. That part is a neat part of the game. But immediately you start to see the cracks in it and how they did it. Because like, okay, so I don't know how many voice actors they got to do it. I don't think it was nearly enough because like I was like 2 hours into the game and already two of my characters had the same type of voice actor and they were like basically saying the same canned shit to each other, by the way, to each other. They were, I was like, okay, this is rough. This is a little weird, but okay, let's.
I could kind of get into that though, like in a weird, quirky way.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. There are parts of the game that are hilarious. Like, okay, I had to do this bare knuckle boxing thing, right? And I was just recruiting random people because I thought it was funny. I was like, I'm going to get this former exotic dancer on my team. She has no skills. It's great. Let's do it. And so I did. And then I was like, you know what I'm going to have her do? She's going to be the bare knuckle champion. That's what she's going to do. And I expected to go in there and get my ass handed to me. And the game was like, no, your character's super good at boxing now. No training. They're just super good at it. Don't worry about it. And then I went, okay, I wonder what happens if I take like an actual, cause like after you beat one of the things, like they let you like kind of recruit one of the bare knuckle people. I was like, okay, well, I wonder what happens if I recruit one of them and go into the bare knuckle thing, like they're a trained bare knuckle boxer guy. Like I bet they have like some different stuff. No, they have the same generic stance for everything. I was like, that's kind of lame. Like I put all this work into getting these guys just because I'm, all right, whatever. But really it's just like every NPC that like has a different face. Some of them have different stats. Some of them work for the people that work for the bad guys, but they're on your team. Yay, so they can walk into the places. Don't get too close to the guards. All the stealth is terrible, by the way. The stealth is so bad in this game.
Okay.
Like, it does that classic thing that Justin pulls his fucking hair out, or what little he has left, where you go to, like, do a takedown on a guy who doesn't see you, and then suddenly the game goes, no, you threw a punch there. Now you're in a fight.
No, okay, yeah. You know,
it's bad.
I know we talked about this with Ghost of Tsushima, but it's worth repeating. There's this weird thing that happened in this particular generation. I don't know what it is, where the hotspots for button prompts is extremely small. It's a huge issue with The Witcher 3 in particular, but like, I forget what I was playing just recently where it was one of those things where it's like, oh, nope, that's not it. And just keep like hunting for this one prompt and then, it was Persona 5, actually.
Interesting.
There's certain times when like
it's a little less annoying in that game because
it's not
like
as twitchy, but
it's not an action game, you know, like for the most part, it's not as annoying. Like I remember having some of those issues too.
Sometimes when you're trying to steal treasure, like the prompt doesn't come up when you think it should, and then certain things to interact with in the environment. But then also when you're trying to sneak up on the enemies, sometimes it's just gone all of a sudden. You know, like it's really weird.
That's interesting. Like now I played the Royal version, it almost would let me jump out at almost anyone from any cover. It seemed like flawless. So they may have done some work to that.
Yeah. Most of the time, that's how it works. It's weird because it seems that the closer you are to the enemy, the more likely the prompt is to disappear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see it. But anyway, this game. Boy, what a mess. And it has this weird tone to it. Okay, so it's a GTA clone. You know, it's one of those games where you're driving around town. You're not like, you can steal cars and do stuff. But it also has this weird thing where you're like, well, I don't want to hit anyone because I can recruit them. So, like, you drive carefully, but all the cars control like shit. So you run over some people and then you're like, oh, that's bad. Sorry about that. You feel bad. But, like, you're also just this, like, no-name person who learned every bit of information about every character in England in apparently 2 minutes, because why not? And the story's weird. I hate it. I don't like it at all. I can't get into it. It has such a weird thing where you, like, since you don't have a main character who has, like, a personality or anything, this would have worked for, like, a character creator, because, like, you're building this character and, you know, they're your character. You know this stuff because it's you, whatever. Like, and you get informed by this AI or whatever. But since it's like all these other characters, it's weird because like, it's like, dude, I recruited him 5 minutes ago. How does he know everything now? I don't understand. And there's no like time skip or anything. It's like 5 minutes ago and I switched to him. He knows everything about the main story and who we're fighting against now. It's weird. And it's like trying to be humorous. Like you have this witty, like AI, British AI thing, and he's cracking jokes and all this stuff, and he's fine. But like, then all of a sudden it's like, now we're going to move on to human trafficking. And it's like, whoa, okay. I don't know what we're going for here. Like, it's so weird.
It sounds like they're trying to split the difference between a Saints Row and a GTA and not exceeding in either category.
Yeah, like you get to this part and it's very clearly supposed to establish this is a very bad guy. And I instantly went, okay, I guess I'll take care of this. I just don't care because like it very quickly I just started going, I don't care about any of this. And it started to feel like this game, and I'll keep playing it. I'll see if it gets better later. It might, but the further I go, the less I care. I don't know. Like, it felt like a game that they made the game, right? And they had a main character. There's even like a character in the beginning that I bet money that was their main guy. And they made this entire game around it and went, oh, this game's really boring, actually. We need to put something in here to make this actually pop. So they did the whole NPC thing to actually, like, that's the gimmick of the game. That's what's going to sell this game. And it really does. Like, that's what sold me on it. Yeah. I bought it for that reason. Their main character was neat. He was a MI6 guy or whatever. He was a secret agent. That's kind of cool. Like, I'm guessing that was their whole thing. We'll put them in London. They're a secret agent. We'll have them do all this stuff, but you're a hacker DedSec thing or whatever. Still have that whole thing. But then they went, oh, but this game's really boring, isn't it? There's just nothing going on in it. How do we make it interesting? And they tried this. They tried to shoehorn this on top of it. That's how it feels. I'm not saying that's what they did. That's my theory, because every time I just keep going, something's off about this game. I can't put my finger on it. And it doesn't help that it plays like just dog shit so many times. There's times where I just walk into a room because there isn't like predator vision or whatever where you can see through the walls. There is kind of that. You click a thing and it does a little scan and it like briefly shows where people are. It doesn't highlight them or anything like that. It just kind of like briefly shows there's a guy there. He's there. Look at him. And then sometimes like I'll go like, okay, I'm going to sneak up and I'm going to hit that guy. And then I'll take him down, and then all of a sudden, like, 3 things swarm on me, and I'm, like, dead. And I'm like, all right, well, okay, I'm not sure I'm having fun here. I'm not sure I'm having fun. I'm not completely sold that it's a bad game, but, like, I'm about 95% certain that I don't like this video game.
It's been one that I was looking at with, like I've been on the fence about, and it's interesting, too, because... Like, I think Jeff on the Bombcast was decently high on it, and then Jeff on the Beastcast was not so much, but then the reviews from GameSpot and IGN were both pretty positive. Like, they both gave it 8s. But
okay, I could see that maybe.
Yeah, but. It seems like it doesn't know what it wants to be, right? Because I know that, like, a lot of the story is, like, this very, like, Black Mirror style, like, this is actually what could happen in the near future type thing, and this shit is really serious. But then at the same time, they're trying to be very madcap and zany, and I don't think that you can really combine the two if that's what your story is. It doesn't work.
It really doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, the further I go, the more I'm like, there's something about the tone here that just doesn't work for me. And I don't know. Like, I'm going to keep playing it. Like, I'm not completely turned off of it yet. Yeah. Like, I'm having a decent time. It loves doing that thing, by the way, before we get out of here. It loves doing that thing of, like, your next objective is all the way across the map. And it does. And at first I went, okay, I understand why it's like this because I'm doing a recruiting mission. So they probably went, okay, we have to, do this random location thing, and it's probably like almost dice rolling where it's going to send me or whatever. Or that I'm guessing the system's the game. I don't know how it works. So I kind of excused it until I went to a main quest. And like written in the game, and I was like, okay, so you have to go to this certain terminal. Okay, all right, put there. Okay, where's this going to send me? All the way across town. Great, thank God it sent me all the way across town. Now there is fast travel, which makes it a little less worse, but still you have to sit there and wait for the fucking loading screen, and it's just like, I don't know, man. I hate London. Why, I'm sorry, British people, if they're saying British people, why do you drive on the opposite side of the road? It's confusing to me. It hurts my brain to think about. But I'm slowly getting used to that. I'm just kidding. But yeah, like, it's not sure I'm high on it. But anyway, that's Watchdogs Legion. That's what I've been doing. I'll keep playing it and see if I'm not sure I'm going to finish it though. Like, my advice is, if you were really curious about the game or a big fan of this type of stuff and really want an open world game to play, I would wait and just buy this when it's on sale.
That's probably what I'm leaning towards. Also because, like, I want to see, because apparently it doesn't run all that well on current gen stuff.
I've noticed frame rate wise, I haven't had too many issues or anything.
You're playing
like
it on
that.
PC?
No, I'm playing it on Xbox One X.
Okay.
Just old school Xbox One X. I'm guessing I don't know where you can buy that on PC, but I didn't really feel like fucking with it. I haven't noticed any frame rate issues, but I have noticed that the game will sometimes struggle to load people in.
Mm-hmm.
It almost does like an old Unreal 3 pop-in type deal sometimes with people.
It's funny you say that. Xbox, like literally Xbox themselves released this like 14-minute like live demonstration of the Series X, right? And they were showing like, oh, here's how the game, this is us booting up the system from cold. Here's quick resume because, it still remembered that we were playing Gears 5. And then they start Subnautica. And I've never seen Subnautica before, but that game has pop-up like 4 feet in front of your face. And I don't know if like the Series X is able to fix that or not, but it was a bad look.
I imagine that's how, I don't know. I've never played Subnautica either. It's one of those things I'd have to take a look at. I know like, okay, for example, Skyrim does that. Skyrim's really notorious for popping stuff. And it's actually just how the game's engine is coded.
Right.
You can't actually fix certain things about it. It's just how LODs go away and come back. And in fact, sometimes like if you put too much on your shit, the LODs will actually stay and they won't go away, which is really even weirder because all of a sudden you'll have this tree that's made to be seen from like way, way far away. And all of a sudden you're right up close to it. And it's just the worst looking pixel thing. And it's right next to an actual tree. And it looks like this terrible monstrosity. You're like, something went wrong. Everything is bad. Shut it down. Shut it all down.
I will say that like playing Mass Effect on the Xbox One X, I noticed there was fewer instances of the texture pop-in happening. It still happens at certain key moments that it always does, but there are certain parts where it's like, here's where the textures are already there. That's cool. That was neat to see.
I imagine it loads the engine faster because that was an Unreal 3 engine thing. Yeah. Like that's just what Unreal 3 did. That's how it operated. So, this one it just seemed to be with people. It was like I was in this little bar or something and I had to do stuff. All the puzzles in this game are terrible, by the way. They fucking suck and I hate them. It's like, you get a spider bot and you go through these little vents and then you gotta put the thing there and then you download the stuff. It's stupid. I hate it. I'm okay. I need to stop. But anyway, I was in this little bar, right? And like, I remember walking outside the door and all of a sudden a crowd popped in and I was like, what is happening? I was like, that's a little noticeable, guys. I would have maybe not had that, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing in the world, but like, I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah. And me not being huge into open world games in general, like it has to be something really special for me to get into it. And honestly, that might end up being that Immortals Phoenix Rising that, that's looking real good to me.
On this one, my advice would be to wait on it. Yeah. I'm surprised it's gotten that concept is cool. Yeah. That concept is really neat. And maybe further on in the game, that becomes like really awesome. And I have this really sick ass team and I'm like, we're doing all this badass cool stuff. I don't know. I'll get back to you next episode on that. So look forward to it. Maybe unless I just slam my controller into my TV because I hate it.
Right.
That could happen. So yeah. That's Watchdogs Legion. Thank you for your time. That's all I got.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, all I've really played is Persona 5, but people don't want to hear about that, so...
Julian, they do. Just tell them what palace you're on and we can move on with our lives.
I actually have some stuff to say. It's okay, great. Good. It's great. I'm on the third palace. I just got to the third palace. Here's the funny thing is that I put about 27 hours into that game in a week, which is a lot for me. And then haven't had a chance to really play it since.
Nice.
Work has been insane, and I've been really tired, and just trying to like kind of keep up on like just life things as far as like, I should probably clean this toilet or take out this garbage. You know, like there's been a lot of stuff like that. And also I did, there was a couple nights when I could have played it where I played 14, and I'll talk about that briefly. Cause I don't want to belabor the point, but.
No, you're good.
There's a lot of stuff in that game that I fucking love. Like, you know, like I said, when you were describing it, when, like John was on, like a lot of it just is straight up like it appeals to me on like a very fundamental level. Like I love high school drama stuff just across the board. I always have, but especially like Japanese high school drama stuff because it's such a bizarre world to me.
It goes so dark so fast. Yeah. Like, it's like 0 to 100 in that. It's like, holy shit. Okay. Yeah. We're going there.
And as a side note, I just heard this. I listened to the BBC World News podcast, and they did a story about high school in Japan because bullying apparently has skyrocketed this year. And apparently in Japanese, like high school culture, friendship is not really much of a thing. So that's one of the reasons that like the characters stand out so much is because they're such a unit, because apparently that's just not really a thing that you do. You might have like one friend, you know, that is like your confidant or whatever, but you also don't necessarily like spend all your time with them. So that's a very interesting thing. I also love the fact, and this isn't all anime all the time, and it's kind of annoying, but like the fact that like, they're a protagonist because they're not wearing the actual uniform, you know, and it's like,
you can tell every time. Yeah. That's an important character. I know it.
How is Ryuji getting away with wearing that t-shirt to school?
I always wonder that. How does Anne wear the same? She always wears a sweatshirt. Yep. The only one I'm like, I get it is Queen. Yeah, I definitely get it for her because I'm like, okay, that's very reserved. I understand, but still,
I don't think I've got her yet.
You did. If you're in the
is it Makoto?
House, you did. Yeah. Makoto.
Oh, okay. They haven't said what her name is yet.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, and also like Ann's skirt is like not like regulation length. Like everybody else is wearing like much longer skirts than she is, and it's like, why are you guys getting away with this? I don't understand. But it's fine.
It's fine.
The writing is incredible. I love coming from like the age-old days of like bad translations in role-playing games, I'm still so amazed when localizations are so good. Like the voice acting in Persona 5 is so fucking good.
It is.
You know, like, and when we played Judgment last year, like that was one of the big things. And, you know, I'm totally playing Yakuza 7 in English because like their localization team and their like voice acting team is like so good that like, I'm like, 100%. Like I want to hear this in English. Also, like I said, because it helps me like remember the names easier and stuff. But yeah, so like that's great. I love the look of it. And you can tell this might be a difference between base game and Royal.
Okay, yeah, I'm wondering.
Yeah, so I remember you had said like you had started playing the game and then you got really like freaked out by like the time management stuff, and it started to really bother you. I totally understand where you're coming from now because I really liked the way that Fire Emblem Three Houses did it, where you basically had like this number of charges, right? Like you could do this many activities in a day, and then you chose what those activities were. Right. I wish that Persona 5 had something like that, because it is so haphazard about what you can actually do in a day. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is that like the loading screen says, take your time. That's a fucking lie. Like, it makes me so angry when I see that, because it's like, no, I don't have time. Like
that game is very strange. Now, to alleviate my own personal goblins on that, I went for the guide, right? And it basically laid down, hey, this is what you want to do on this day. And I didn't always do what the guide told me. I just used it as a basis a lot of the time.
Well, the thing is that I have a very firm idea of things that I want to do, but there's large sections of the game where it's like, no, we're just going to do exposition now, and you don't get a say in the matter. So I took down the second palace very quickly, and then it was just like nothing happened, but also I didn't really get a lot of chances to choose what I wanted to do. And it's like, no, it's Sunday. I want to go get my smoothie. I want to get my Sunday smoothie, but no, oh, you didn't let me go. You wouldn't even let me go shopping on Sunday. Like, at least let me, like, I understand if you don't want me to do, like, an activity, like hang out with somebody because of plot, but at least let me go shopping. At least let me go, like, let me go take care of shit. Cause sometimes it would be like, okay, I need to go to the palace next, but I'm out of items, but I didn't have time to go shopping, and now I have to put off the palace by one day, but now there's this happening, and oh, well, there was a plot thing, so I had to go do this automatically, and I wanted to go back out and go get the items for the palace, but nope, I can't do it tonight. It's like, I guess I'll have to do the palace tomorrow.
Yeah. I will say, don't worry too much about it. Like, I know it's very stressful. Like, it really is. That's why I did the guide thing. I had no shame, and I found a really good guide, and it was only for Royal, or I'd be like, hey, maybe this will help you. Cause it definitely tells you, like, a lot of, like, this is the optimal day to do this certain thing. Because, like, there are certain things it's like, don't miss this today. And I'm like, okay, cool. But that was only for Royal again.
Yeah.
And that really helped me out a lot. But, like, what it gets you in the end, I mean, there are definitely, like, certain. Okay, I'm gonna put it like this. I'm gonna help you out a little bit. I don't know. I can't remember if you met this character or not. If not, then it's coming up soon, and I'm just gonna drop a name. And if you've met them, you tell me. And if you haven't, then when you meet them, they are a very important social link to get ahead in things. And there's a character named Becky. Have you met them?
What do they do?
Because
I haven't memorized all the names yet, but if you tell me, like,
okay, you would no.
What the profession is.
You will know. I'm gonna put it like this. You will know when you meet Becky.
Okay, I don't think
okay.
I have. The most recent new social link I've made is the politician.
Okay, yeah, no, I think it's right in between I think it's after the third palace in the in-between time.
Okay.
Between that and the fourth one, I believe. Yeah. When they show up, go hard on them, because, like, they give you a one of the more overpowered things, which gives you, I believe. So when you know how when you come back from palaces, how you're not allowed to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. I often wish I had a talking cat to tell me when I can't do things. That's a weird, funny joke that I just made up. But you can get them to alleviate that. Basically, you come back from that, fatigue. You can go out and do actions when you come back from a dungeon.
Yeah, okay, that would be super helpful, definitely.
Yes, yeah. And I think actually Royal nerfed one of the things that they let them do, so they might even be more powerful in the base game. I'm not 100% on that, but I remember hearing that from something else, because that is one of the more, like, powerful to get ahead in the social link thing.
Yeah.
For them.
It's been super stressful, because, like, you can press the touchpad to, like, see, like, what other people did, and it'll give, like, other players' average level. And it's like, why is the average level 3 levels higher than me? What am I doing wrong? I never run from fights. Like, what's going on? I gotta say, I love the battle system. Like, it's really refreshing, because, you know, as a big Final Fantasy fan, you know, like, I've been talking a lot about, like, well, I've just got to accept the fact that Final Fantasy is never going to go back to turn-based, because turn-based is dead. But, like, there's so many examples of really fantastic modern turn-based games, and Persona 5 has one of the best battle systems I've seen in a very long time.
It's so fast-paced, it's so fun, it's so fluid,
but strategic. Like, every fight, like, even, like, very simple ones, it's like, oh, wait, what do I need to do here? And then it's like, oh, I could actually finish this in one turn, but do I want to spin the SP on it or not? Right. You know, like there's that great, like, push and pull and deciding how deep into the dungeon you can actually go. It's really good. I only have one important question.
Okay, go.
Does Tae Takami like younger guys?
She might.
Okay.
She might be into it.
All right.
You might be. I'll put it like this. I didn't go that route because I went a different route.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure there's other characters that I might love.
My whole thing was I wanted to, and I don't know if it makes a difference. I'm actually curious. I'd actually love it if you actually could confirm how it is for me. I could go look it up, but I'm just too lazy. I went for one of the party members,
which makes sense.
Because Yeah, because I figured it would give me like different scenes or, you know, stuff like that. So, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to put it like this, Julian. Every female character is super into you in that game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're super into you. Can't
You're the special.
wait to tell you. Yeah, exactly. It's great. But yeah, that game, it's a good game, man.
Yeah, it is. I want to play more. It's just been, you know, like, it's been hard. And then, you know, PS5 is coming out in 2 weeks. I mean, I'm only getting, like, out of the gate, I'm only buying Miles Morales, which I'll finish that in a week or so. And then I can go back to Persona. But I'm hoping that I can finish it before the end of the year. We'll see.
We'll see. Exactly. Man, I will say this, the fourth dungeon or fourth palace is my favorite, if that motivates you anymore.
Oh, it's not that I'm not motivated. Like it's just been a matter of like, I'm too tired to play tonight.
I take that back. If I had to rank it, it's my second favorite, but it's one of my favorite parts of the game.
Cool.
And it followed, that game's good. God, it's good. But man, Makoto's great though. She's fucking cool.
Yeah, like when she, because I just got to the part where she like emerges with her persona, and I was like,
all right. I was just gonna say, have you seen that?
Fucking awesome,
dude. Do you remember when I was on the podcast? I was like, I have met the party member, and they are very cool. That's who I was talking about. I just got to that part. I was like, oh my god, they're fucking awesome.
Yeah. And then real quick, we completely finished Stormblood, so we are now officially in Shadowbringers. But what I wanted to say is that, so my friend Shanna, she is very gun shy about doing a lot of the like higher end content because on her regular character, she plays a white mage and it's a lot of pressure. And if she messes up, she gets yelled at and so if, you know, a lot of times if you're doing it for the first time, you're not going to know what to do and you're going to mess up and you get yelled at and it really stresses her out. So I've been like, no, but I want to try to see this stuff. And, you know, now when she plays with me, she's playing just a regular damage dealer. So, she's been a little bit cooler about doing it. She's like, oh, that actually wasn't that bad. So I knew this was in the game, but I didn't know how awesome it was going to be. And I also didn't realize when I started the quest what it was. But there is a whole quest line and raid series that is based around Final Fantasy Tactics, Justin.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and it's actually canon. It's awesome.
It's written by Matsuno.
Yeah.
When you first talk to the NPC, like, I think it's Ramza's sister. She's talking to you, and it starts playing tactics music, and I was like, and Shanna was like, what's wrong? And I was like, it's tactics! It's tactics music! And, you know, so you're going through the thing and everything, and like you get into the next cutscene, and again, tactics music, like whoa, and then you meet Ramza, and they're talking about Delita, and you realize that like the story of the Zodiac Braves was like told by one of the NPCs in this game, but that was just a legend, and now he's looking for the actual, like, he thinks that the legend was actually real, and so you decide to go to Rabanastre from Final Fantasy XII, because apparently the ruins of one of the cities from Final Fantasy Tactics is rumored to be underneath Rabanastre. Okay. It's really cool, Justin. Like,
that sounds pretty neat. Yeah.
And the raid is based around Rabanastre, and I haven't done it yet, but I want it because I want to see what it looks like, because they probably just completely rebuilt Rabanastre from Final Fantasy XII in Final Fantasy XIV, and then you get to run around there and fight monsters, and that's going to be fucking cool.
Yeah, there's so much cool stuff in 14, man. They really did a good job with that game.
I have decided that I am going to get completely caught up before the next expansion comes out, because I think if it wasn't for COVID, they would have announced it at E3 this year, and it would have come out next summer. But as of right now, it has not been announced yet, and I'm imagining that they'll announce it early in 2021, and it might come out holiday 2021 if they don't have too many delays, because they are behind by a good few months on patch releases. So that gives me enough time to where, you know, because like we went through almost all of Stormblood just in my like vacation week. So, you know, if we play like 1 or 2 days a week for the next like couple months, like I should be able to, you know, get pretty much caught up. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, real quick, like I haven't done this, but they added a new high level mode for like the newest patch. And there's a boss in there named Comet, who's a red chocobo, which is another tactics reference. And he is a motherfucker. Like, like you should just watch a video of the Comet Battle from Final Fantasy XIV to see the insanity. Like, there is no safe place to stand. It's a fight that takes, I think up to 48 people can take it on, and most people still can't beat it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's insane.
Yes, I've seen some of it, and like you have to like. I've seen people like calling like that's you have to stand in that one. You don't have to stand in. I don't know.
Yeah.
From an outsider looking in, that battle system's really weird. Like, I started to get it like towards the end of like what I was watching, where I was like, oh, okay, so the lights are like sometimes you stand in the lights, but sometimes you don't stand in the lights. Okay, get it.
The cool thing. So when I first started playing the game, it was very difficult for me because I didn't really understand what I was supposed to do if I had never been to a dungeon before. But once you start to see certain mechanics, you understand exactly what you're supposed to do when you see them later on. So like when me and Shannon were working on some of these Stormblood dungeons, I was like, some of them we did just by ourselves because they were like low enough level where we could just like do them on our higher level jobs, just the two of us. But it was really cool because it would be like, oh, I figured him out just by watching what he does, and it's like a very satisfying thing. And once you start to know like exactly what each thing is, like you can. Then it just becomes of like a matter of execution. I will say that one little complaint that I have about the game in like later, now that I'm deeper into the game, is that there are certain bosses and certain encounters where if you mess up like one thing, you're fucked. And I don't like that whole like, oh, you stood in the wrong spot and now you're dead. You know, I wish that it, you know, like, I wish it was like a thing of like, if you stood in the wrong spot like 2 or 3 times, then you're dead. You know, just, you know, it's a small nitpick.
Yeah, slap you on the wrist at first, and then
then really punish you if you keep doing it. Like, exactly. I will say that one of the bosses we did, there was a Dragoon, and Dragoons are known in 14 for just always being on the floor. And I play a Dragoon, and the reason for that is because you're constantly using jump at the wrong time, and you will jump into an attack instead of like moving out of it. But
that sounds right.
But this poor Dragoon was just not learning it. Like, we wiped on this boss, I think, like 3 times, and he was constantly dying. And it's like, you like, I understand, like, the first time, like, you didn't know what to do, but it's time to figure it out, dude. But
yeah, that would be me.
Yeah,
that's why I don't play that game. Anything else you got?
No, that's really about it. Yeah, just been a lot of work. Been a lot of like
it happens.
Turns out, it turns out that we're seeing an uptick in cases. I don't know why. It's really weird that a lot of people are dying all of a sudden again. I don't know. It's almost like you could have predicted it. I don't know, but
that's crazy talk. I don't know where you would get that from.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
I don't know. It's just a little theory I have. There's nothing to support it.
No.
All right. On that note, I think it's time to lower the cage and step into the ring for a video game cage match.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest spectacle on earth. This will be one hellacious ride tonight. This is a 15-foot high steel cage, ladies and gentlemen. Who will triumph? Who will prevail? And who will realize their dream?
And this week's booking is one that I selected, and this comes to us from our champion, Jeffka. And he has us pitting Luigi's Mansion from the Nintendo GameCube against Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem from the Nintendo GameCube. It's almost like Jeffka has a theme going on, just in general. Jess, I'm going to let you take point on this one because I honestly, I still don't know where I'm falling on this.
I know where I'm falling on it, but I mean, it's kind of, I don't have much on it. Like I just have Luigi's Mansion seems cute. I mean, it's a cute game. I mean, you have a vacuum cleaner and you suck off ghosts. It's fine.
Whoa, do you really want to use that phrasing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
No, that's what you do. You suck them off, right? That's fine.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
I see nothing wrong with that.
No, you have the little vacuum cleaner and you go, oh, where's Mario at? Go in this spooky mansion. But, Eternal Darkness has, like, fucking ancient gods that are trying to murder you. And I don't think vacuums work on those, Julian. I don't know science, but I don't think a vacuum's gonna do much against that. I don't think you can suck up the ancient god problem out of your house. Like, that's just not suck-offable. And so for that reason, I have to vote for Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. And that's it. That's my vote.
All right. I would just like to point out that Mike Fallick is screaming into his device right now because you used the word science in response to, like, ghosts and paranormal stuff.
Well, I mean, he doesn't know. There's probably science behind ancient gods that we don't know about, Julian. I mean, magic and science are the same thing, obviously. Yes. As we've learned from today's current government. There's basically the same things.
All right. I'm so torn on this matchup because on one hand, Luigi is a coward. But on the other hand, Eternal Darkness has insanity effects. So I almost feel like this is a matter of, like, the two competitors being kind of incapacitated simultaneously and it coming down to just one move.
Right.
And I do think that Luigi would, in his, like, shaking and quaking in his boots, would be able to fire off that vacuum cleaner and suck Eternal Darkness down to the mat. So I think that's where I'm going with this. I think I've got Luigi's Mansion only because of weird shenanigans, not because of actual fighting prowess.
I could see. I mean, Luigi's kind of a fuck up. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he is.
And I could see him kind of like fumbling his way into victory. Like he just like trips and then like, Eternal Darkness like smacks their head on the turnbuckle or the bad part of the cage and just knocks himself unconscious. Yeah. Like I could see it happening. I could definitely see it playing out that way. Like I don't have much of a stake in this fight. I'll be honest.
No, yeah. I really enjoy both of these games. And Eternal Darkness is definitely the one that takes my heart, but again, with like those insanity effects, like it's just such a like debilitating thing that, yeah, I don't know. Also, debilitating is not a word. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Debilitating.
Yes, there we go. That's a thing that people actually say.
That's a word.
Yes. All right, so that's got it as a dead heat. But as always, the Nerds Without Pants are not the be-all and end-all of video game cage match because our lovely listeners, in addition to booking the matches, are also our referees. Right. So we're going to start off at pixelbit.com with Casey Curran. And he says, Eternal Darkness tries to make Luigi go insane, but fails due to Luigi's already existing insanity from living in Mario's shadow. Luigi's Mansion wins. That's a good point. Well, that's a good point.
Interesting stuff. Yeah.
That's a complicated relationship that I would love. Like, I know I've said this before, but it's like, if you had like Insomniac do like a good like Mario and Luigi like action platformer and like really played up the whole brother rivalry thing, I think that could be a lot of fun.
That would be neat. I would be into that. The only game that really kind of goes into that is the Paper Mario series. And it's kind of hilarious how they did it. Like in Thousand Year Door, you run into Luigi and he's having his own separate adventure because you were gone and he got a letter from some kingdom and he was just like, I guess I'm going to go do this weird adventure. And he's telling you the story and Mario's like falling asleep as he's telling the story. And it's just like, I like this. I don't know what it is.
They also do Luigi really dirty in the like Mario and Luigi games, like playing the Bowser's Inside Story like a year ago or so. Like there's definitely a lot of dialogue where it's like, oh, Luigi's here too. Hooray.
Yeah, for whatever reason, they love to pick on Luigi in the RPG games. But after that, we have Superstep, and he says, I have really fond memories of both, but I have to go with Eternal Darkness, only because I wish more people would play it. They're both unique gaming experiences, but I think most people who'd be interested in Luigi's Mansion have played it, whereas I feel the need to proselytize a bit more for, I don't know, that's a big word. That's a big word.
It's like preaching for it.
Okay, thank you. It's like, I don't know this word. You know English. He's proselytize a bit more for ED as well as Eternal Darkness. Anyway, have you thought of the benefits of ED? It can keep you from making some very stupid life-altering decisions. It's pretty great. Like, I don't know what that means. What is he talking about?
It's a erectile dysfunction joke.
Oh, like sucking off ghosts. Got it. Okay.
And I would like to say, Super Step, you shut your fucking mouth and wait until, give it about 10 years and then see if you still feel the same way.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun.
Yeah, jerk.
It's not fun. Like, I didn't get to enjoy those early days. And now it's just I'm flaccid.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Julian. Let's move on before we get too personal. Over
before
Twitter,
we get too personal.
Yeah, it's, whatever. Either works. Do you want me to read Xavier Krieger?
No, it is my turn. I will read Xavier Krieger on Twitter.com. That's a website where you can talk a lot of bullshit about bad things.
Well said. You can make up completely fabricated things about people. They'll never know. Like Xavier Krieger and how he builds his own Legos. He calls them Pegos. And he sells them to kids for cheaper than Legos. He undercuts the big man. He's a real good guy, actually. Pego's pretty good quality, too. Yeah. He has a 3D printer. He's making those things work,
He's doing the good, like, anti-capitalist work, and I applaud the comrade.
Only downside is everything is purple. He only makes purple blocks, so everything is purple.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. No, most people don't complain, I'm just saying, that's the one downside, just thought I'd put it out.
All right. He is on Twitter at Cadus Bane, and he says, I've postponed my cage match for a few days, trying to decide a reason to pick one of these games, but I honestly love them equally. I guess I'll go Eternal Darkness just because it doesn't have mediocre sequels dragging the name into the mud. I didn't know that the sequels were mediocre. I think I played a little bit of the second one and thought it was okay. And then I heard good things about the third one, but I didn't pick it up.
Yeah. A lot of people like the third one. Apparently, like, the only complaint they had was, like, the final boss or something. But, yeah, I don't know. I've never been really interested in the Luigi's Mansion games, I'll be honest. After that, we have John Marinkovic, and he is at John Marinkovic on the Twitter.coms. He likes to make his own sand. He grinds up rocks and sells it to kids. It's a whole thing. I don't know why I keep doing this. I gotta stop.
I don't know.
No, I won't. I refuse. I refuse to stop. He says this about this cage match. He says, I haven't played either of these games, and since I'm no longer salty about losing to Blaine, so there will be no vendetta picking today. I will choose the winner, as I have chosen all things in life with which I am unfamiliar, with a coin toss. Heads, Luigi's Mansion, or tails, Eternal Darkness. Siri, heads or tails? She picked tails. I can't believe it. Too much? Yeah, I thought so too. But either way you slice it through, though I'm going with Eternal Darkness. He goes with Eternal Darkness. All right. I mean, hey man, I went with the Mystical 8-Ball app to choose a cage match. Sometimes you gotta go with it. It happens.
And also, personal growth. Appreciate it. Good on you, John.
Right. Yeah. Indeed. We're all very proud.
Yes. Next up, we have Philip, who's on Twitter at PK Becker. Have you noticed that it doesn't actually say the Twitter handle at the top of the messages anymore?
Yeah, if you click on them, it doesn't. It never has. That's why sometimes I get real caught up in what's his Twitter name? Oh yeah, and I have to go back. Yeah, so it's weird.
He says Luigi pisses his pants at the sight of Eternal Darkness. Eternal Darkness goes in and slips on Luigi's piss and knocks itself out. Luigi's Mansion wins. That was a swerve that I did not see coming.
After that, we have Blaine Fayette. And he is at Blaine Fayette on Twitter.com, which is a website that people say words on. He says this about our cage match in the form of words. He says, I think I'll pick Luigi's Mansion. Why? Because Mario is a chump and Luigi deserved to win. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Strong
Very
words.
strong.
Strong words for Mario. He's tired of it.
All right, and last but not least, and also I will say that this is a perfect tie, so it comes down to the booker of the match, Jeffka, which actually seems like maybe a little bit of a conflict of interest, but hey, it's video game cage match, we're going to roll with it.
This is bullshit. I call rigged.
Bring it up with the commissioner. Oh, wait, that's me. Jeffka says, I already gushed about Luigi's Mansion last episode, but one thing I didn't mention was that it's referenced in the greatest game ever made. In the Serena Beach, good luck pronouncing that, the internet's debated for years, level of Super Mario Sunshine. Once the hotel has been unlocked, there is a piñata janitor that complains about the ghost in the air duct. He wishes someone would come and suck them all up. Therefore, because it's referenced in the greatest game and Eternal Darkness isn't, we can all see who wins this one. That's just logic.
Yeah, you gotta suck those ghosts out of the airlock. You gotta suck them all off.
You gotta suck them all off.
The airlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta do it. Yeah.
There's so much to unpack about how wrong this is, but I don't have the time to do it. So we're just gonna go with it. Luigi's Mansion wins in a very narrow victory. Cause
I mean, that's fine.
I mean,
I'm fine
you
with
know,
that.
Considering that he was dealing with ED, the fact that he was able to suck it off is actually pretty impressive.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good for Luigi, man. Like, I'm proud of him, honestly. I
probably really
didn't vote for him.
appreciated being sucked off.
Right. I didn't vote for him. I obviously, but I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy for him. You know, he overcame the odds. He proved me wrong, and that goes a long way. So, you know.
Good for you, Luigi's Mansion.
You did it.
You did.
All right.
Oh, I really appreciate it when a section can just devolve into a total like dick and fart joke for the entire thing.
Oh, I'm into it. Sometimes you got to go that route. It happens.
All right, Justin. Well, I believe it's your turn to pick a booking from our list of bookings. So what do you have on deck for us?
It is my turn to pick a booking. I got confused by words that you said. I picked this one though, and maybe I'm putting it out there a little too early, but I don't. We're kind of running out of cage match stuff, at least on my documents.
I've got more to add, but we do need more cage match bookings, people.
We do need. Please,
we really
please
want to
more,
get some from like people who don't submit very often or who have never submitted. Send them our way because we can always use more bookings.
Like put some names of games on a dartboard and just throw them, and then that's the list.
Yeah,
like do it. Like I'd be so in. Those are the funnest ones when they don't make any sense.
I mean, that's kind of the point, is that like any game can square off against any game like that. Sometimes the best matches is when Rey Mysterio is taking on the Big Show. Like, you don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. So I picked this one. It might be a little too early. I apologize to you, Julian, but I picked Persona 5 versus Final Fantasy 10 as booked by Xavier Krieger.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's a heavyweight. That's a heavyweight match right there. That's a heavyweight match. So I'm interested to see what people have to say about that.
Yeah. All right. And then remind us what we're doing for Stage Select next episode.
Best video game dogs. What are the best video game dogs? Easy. Everybody has. You can't not have an opinion.
Oh shit! I need to jot down this one before I forget, because that's always my problem with these, is that I come up with something awesome and then I forget. But this one I need to remember because it is awesome. Hold on, I'm gonna cut this. Do
you want to know where I got the idea from? Because I got it from watching a dumb game.
Sure.
I got it from watching the game Haunting Ground.
Oh, okay, yeah. I wish.
Yeah.
Well, one, I wish that I had bought it because it's worth a lot of money now. But two, I always wish that I had gotten a chance to play that one and Rule of Rose. I wanted to play, and I never got either of them.
Haunting Ground is. So I just watched it, and it's really interesting. It's not like the world's greatest thing, but it's like it's got some really cool ideas. It's basically, and like learning more about it. Capcom bought the Clock Tower franchise.
That's right.
They made Clock Tower 3. That was supposed to be Clock Tower 4, but Clock Tower 3 did badly, so they said, let's scrap that and we'll make a new franchise. Yeah. So they made Haunting Ground, and then so you can kind of see the thing. It has some really awesome ideas in it though. There's one of the killers, the Clock Tower style of killer that is just amazing. She is fucking awesome. And I was like, oh man, this is good. And then kind of going after that, it's everything else is kind of a slide down from that though. Right. But it's still a cool game. And I also watched Clock Tower 3, which has one of the funniest lines I've ever heard in a video game, which is when it's at the very beginning of the game, the first killer shows up and he kills this girl right in front of you, and then he jumps down the steps and goes, "I killed her!" And I died laughing. Because you're like, of course you did. I watched it happen. What are you doing, man? That was your line. It's he botched it so hard. Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
No, that's great. I think I'm leaving all that in. All right, we're going to want all those comments by 8:30 Central Time on November the 13th, aka PlayStation. Oh, wait, no. Is it PlayStation 5 the 12th? I think it's the 12th. Yeah, it's the 12th.
I don't
know. Because Xbox is the 10th, and then it's the 12th for the PlayStation. I thought it was the 13th. Anyway, Friday the 13th, though. Ooh.
Spooky.
Yes, but we will want all of those, again, 8:30 Central Time, November the 13th. As always, you can head on over to pixelbit.com and comment in the show thread for episode 188. You can DM us on Twitter at NWPcast, or you can hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdswithoutpantspodcast. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this sucker up. You can always find us on Twitter. Justin?
I am at Tyrone_Swift, or you can tweet my other podcast at Clickbait Update. If you like Mike Fallick, we just had him on the show, so go check that out.
Yes, and that episode went the way that I expected his first appearance on the show to go. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what I was waiting for.
Yeah, I was waiting for it too. It was entertaining to me. Yeah, it goes some places, that episode, so tune in and find out where it goes. It's
yes.
fun.
You can find me at Julian_Titus. You can find the show at NWPcast. Once again, be sure to check out the Mass Effect episode of Games My Mom Found, where both Justin and I are on. We're getting up early on a Saturday morning to do this. I can't
right after recording.
Yeah, it's already 1 o'clock in the morning Justin's time, but then he's going to be up by 11 a.m. In the morning to do the next podcast. Yeah. So that's what we do for the podcast art.
I'm gonna come on with my Monster Energy drink and go off about the fucking Mako, and then have nothing but good things to say.
All right, and as always, our theme song, Relax, and interstitial tracks, Moody Grooves, and To the Max, come to us from Megan McDuffie. Just find her on social media everywhere that you can find Megan McDuffie. And if you would like to rate or review the show, please do so. And if it's on Apple Podcasts, I will find it eventually on Chartable. If it's somewhere else, you can definitely screenshot it and let me know, and I will read it on the show. We would love more ratings and reviews. It helps a lot. And also sharing the show. I know we have a lot of new listeners, some of who were recommended from other people. So if you enjoy it as well, consider giving it to a friend. And that's how this virus of a podcast will, cover the earth.
That's how viruses and podcasts both work. That's how they both operate the same way. You sneeze on somebody and suddenly they listen to this podcast.
Yes. Yeah, just go sneeze on somebody and then tell them Nerds Without Pants said, no, maybe not.
That's both science and magic at the same time. Yeah.
Psygic. It's Psygic.
Mazins. I don't know, man. Okay, we gotta go. We gotta go.
All right. That's going to do it for this episode. For myself and Justin, thanks for listening. Keep it pantsless, internet, and wash your goddamn hands. Goodbye.